كسبان اي جروب 1. انا اتكلم على بطل السانجر الايرلندي، فهذا جدير من حاله بالاحترام. تؤخذ عليه نقطه واحده انه حصان داخل في ال5 شهور الان بريك عن السباقات. 5 شهور ما اقدر اقولها انه راح من السباقات، اكيد في عامل خلى حصان يوقف، مجبور عن السباقات. ما اقدر اقول لك هي اصابه، ما اقدر اقول لك في مشكله، ما اقدر اقول لك انه حصان في ضعف. اكيد في نقطه تخلي حصان بهالحجم يوقف 5 شهور. لذلك انا ال5 شهور هذه اللي بتكون الكويستشن مارك حقتي على الحصان في مشاركه هذا اليوم. واتمنى
بذكرك بشيء يمكن يشيل نقطه 5 شهور، ما ادري يمكن انتبهت ولا ما انتبهت لما كنا نتغدى في الكلاب هاوس جنب اداره النادي، ما انتبهت مين اللي قاعد برا؟
لا ما انتبه.
جوني مورتا قاعد برا. كان بدري يعني ما اقول لك بدري مصبح الصبح في المضمار. هذا يمكن يعطيك شويه على انه جاي مع سوني بوي ليستون وهو تم حال. ترى مرات تحفز وتنرفز على اشياء يمكن انت عندك فيها حسبه وتكون خلاص يعني مصبح الصبح مثلا على سبيل المثال. قد يكون ذلك الحال مع جوني مورتا.
يمكن ان شاء الله، انا اتمنى له التوفيق، اتمنى ظهوره يكون ايجابي. لكن انا بالنسبه لي سوني بوي ليستون لا يقل كقوه في اسماء تقدر انها جاريه، تقدر انها تكون قويه وتحاربه وتكون قريبه اليوم بمستوى كبير.
طبعا عندنا فرسان يمكن ذكرناها في الشوط الاول ايضا ابدا غير محظوظين في هذا اليوم ابو احمد، وهم ويليام بيويك وتاج اوشيه اللي راح يفوتون امسيه اليوم، وكذلك امسيه سوبر ساتردي هناك في دبي بسبب حجر صحي بسبب تعرضهم لاصابه كورونا. جيمس دويل الحين لن يقود السيسكاني وعلى ظهره جيمس دويل، وانت قلت انك خيول جودلفين تشوف فيها انها هي الاقرب لتحقيق الشوط.
أنا أشوف سيسكني تحديدا، يعني سيسكني تحديدا هو اللي ممكن اليوم يعني يقود حظوظ جودولفين في هالشوط. حصان يملك إمكانيات مميزة الصراحة، ومتوقع أنه يكون منافس شرس على هالشوط. وتعرف يعني جودولفين ما تجي للشوط مجرد مشاركة، دائما تحب تكون في دائرة المنافسة.
طبعا عندهم سيسكني، عندهم ديزرت فاير، وكذلك لديهم دبي فيوتشر. سعيد بن سرور هو من حقق الانتصار في هذا الشوط في العام الماضي عن جدارة واستحقاق، ويسرج اسمين في هذا الشوط، وهو في شوط $1,500,000 امريكي. الشوط طبعا شفنا بواباته تتوزع يوم الخميس. من وجهه نظرك هل بنبدا ببيس بطيء ومن ثم نبدا نتسارع اكثر واكثر ابو سعد في الشوط، ام ان هناك لعبه كراسي راح تبدا من بدايه الشوط؟ هذا من غير كل الاسماء اللي راح نستعرضها بعد قليل.
ما في شك راح تكون اللعبه من بدايه الشوط ما حيكون فيه تتكلم على جائزه $2.5 مليون. اليوم التمهيد في مثل الاشواط الكبيره، في بعض الناس دائما تقلل من الاشواط اللونج ديستنس في موضوع الترتيب اللي هو البيس. حتى البيس في اللونج ديستنس يساعدك كثير اليوم لاحكام النتيجه. شفنا بعض الجياد كانت في اوروبا على مسافات تصل الى 4000 متر تساوي بيس قوي من بدايه الشوط. تختلف عموما هي، لكن اسماء الشوط اللي موجوده اليوم اسماء مهمه، اسماء قويه. اتمنى للجميع التوفيق. الشوط جدير بالاحترام عطفا على طال المشاركين في هذا السباق.
لما قلت انت خيول تركض على 4000 وتسوي تسارع قوي جدا وتيري فوت، تذكرت طبعا ستراديفيريوس في الجولد كاب في هذا والكينج، بس ليس متواجد اليوم ستراديفيريوس. من كان خلفه في هذاك اليوم في الشوط وهو نايف رود موجود معاه في الشوط الحين،
وموجود عده اسماء اتوقع تقدر تساوي السباق ممتاز.
الحلو في الشوط ايضا كذلك قبل شوي تذكرت نقطه جدا مهمه، ان اوثورتي او عفوا ايبيريا واوثورتي متواجدين، او بالي درايفر متواجدين في اشواط ثانيه كانوا مع بعضهم البعض، والحين في شوط كانوا متواجدين فيه. الشوط هذا العكس تماما، خيول ايرلندا، خيول بريطانيا، خيول دبي، سيسكاني، اليابان، وكلهم مجتمعين في شوط واحد. يعني لو تحسب بالضبط، لو تحسب الاسامي اللي بتلاقيها مع بعض يمكن تلاقي اسمين فقط ماكسيموم متواجدين مع بعضهم البعض في الشوط.
هذا ما يزيد الشوط يعني اثاره ونديه الصراحه، ان عدم وضوحها بشكل كبير. يمكن انا قلت لك الاوزان تاثر على بعض الخيل، وارد، خصوصا الارضيه عندنا سريعه اليوم، يعني بحسب ما انا اشوف ممكن تاثر على الخيل خصوصا على مسافه ال3000. واتوقع اليوم يكون الشوط فيه تكتيك مختلف، يكون فيه سرعه ويكون فيه جواد يحاول يروح على رؤوس الخيل باثنين طول ونص.
في خيول تقعها انها تحاول تمسك زمام البادره من البدايه.
اتوقع فابلس الامير فيصل بن خالد بيحاول يطلع ويكون في زمام المبادره ويكون قدام الخيل بطول او طولين.
الخيول اللي عندها وزن اقل هل بعض الاحيان افضلها انها تستنى وتقدم تسارع اخر شيء للدخول بالاستفاده من الوزن، ولا يفرق ما يفرق حسب طريقه ركض الحصان اذا هو قدام؟
بالضبط يعني صعب انك حصان متعود يمشي قدام بسبب الوزن تاخر، يعني تحاول تختار افضل ترب للجواد، تمام. لكن اتوقع على سبيل المثال هالجواد عليه 54 وحصان يحب يمشي قدام، اتوقع نشوفه اليوم قدام، خصوصا في وجود الجواد ديريفو كصمام امان بطريقه الدخول.
برنسس زوي اتوقع تحب البيس البطيء، ساني بوي ليستن يحب البيس البطيء، سكاتزينو بالبيس البطيء بعد مشاركاته ايضا في فرنسا في نفس الطريقه. يعني عندنا 3 اسماء مرشحه تحب البيس في البدايه ابو وسعد.
ما في شك.
هل هذا بيفرض ايقاعه على الشوط؟
ما في انه يفرض ايقاع، الكل بيروح على ايقاع المنهى، لكن برنسس زوي اتوقع كمان بتسوي شوط كبير كبير كبير.
يعني ما بينحسم الشوط من وجهه نظرك الا عند خط النهايه؟
صعبه قبل خط النهايه، صعبه لانه في عده اسماء قادره على انها تكون موجوده.
واكيد الشوط راح يكون حلو جدا في السباقات. ضف على ذلك نايف رود، ضف على ذلك جليكون، ضف على ذلك الخيول ايضا كذلك طبعا السعوديه. اذا بريس الزوي مثل ما ذكرنا تاتي الى السباق وهي بحاله جيده جدا مثل ما شاهدنا مع مدربها. نستمع الان من المالك اكيد والكونكشنز الخاص ببريس الزوي وحديثهم عن المشاركه الاهم لها في هذا العام وتبداها بطريقه جميله جدا في عام 2022 وهي في كاس البحر الاحمر.
A fella called Bernard Cullinan found her for me in Germany, and we had bought her with
ولقد اشتريناها.
going jumping, and suddenly we realized that we had a very good horse, and here we are at the biggest race meeting in the world.
نحن الآن في أكبر حادث عالمي من نوعه. الأحصنة المتواجدة ربما لا تتواجد جميعها في نفس المكان وفي نفس اللحظة. وبرنسس زوي كانت تدريبها سهلا جدا، ونعتقد أننا قد بذلنا قصارى جهد لنصل إلى ذلك المستوى، وما حققناه كان نتيجة كل تلك الجهود. وربما المضحك أنها قد كانت تمتطي الحصان متمسكة باليد اليسرى، وربما كانت هذه المرة الأولى التي تقوم بذلك. والآن نحن متواجدون هنا والأعصاب متوترة إلى حد كبير، ولكن هذا ربما كان سبب نجاحنا.
Lucky 13.
One from the outside 13.
Lucky 13.
Being drawn 13 is well out, but she can be slow out of stalls or slow into her stride for the first furlong. So maybe to have a bit of daylight there might just leave Joey with the uphill.
ربما هذا سيتيح لنا الفرصة.
You know, when the race settles down. We've proven in the Prix de Cadran in Longchamp 2.5 miles, so staying is not our worry. So just a good, even, clean run. We'll show them what she's made of.
ايضا ثاني في جروب 1 في فرنسا، يعني امكانيات كبيره، واتوقع اليوم يقدم نفسه بشكل جيد.
مايكل برزلونة على القيادة بشكل شوي منرفز في البادوك. رقم 4 عندك البارون سميدي.
البارون سميدي والاسماء الخطيرة المرشحة في هذا الشوط: ابن الفحل هاربر ووتش يدرب المدرب الشاب جوزيف أوبراين. ريان مور على القيادة. جواد مرشح بقوة في رصيده، انتصارين من سباقات الفئة الثانية جروب 2، شارك في سباقات من الفئة الأولى. جواد ممتاز، يتطلع كثير، نتمنى له التوفيق.
هنا 5 دبي فيوتشر.
اتوقع يعني برنامجه تجهيز الشوط جدا ممتاز، ماخذ يعني سباقين في جانوري كلها في مضمار ميدان اشواط ليستد، كسب شوط، الشوط الثاني حل المركز الرابع خلف مين؟ خلف سكني بطل الشوط ب4 اطوال، لكن يفترض انه يكون ساعدته كثير في الجهود. ابن دباوي يتوقع انه يظهر بشكل ممتاز.
الى الرقم 6 مارينيك.
مارينيك هذا الجواد قادم من الأرجنتين، ممثل الأرجنتين مع المدربة ماريا مونوز. جواد ممتاز، سجله السباقي في الأرجنتين جدا مميز، يحمل انتصارين في سجله السباقي من 15 مشاركة، حل في آخر مشاركتين في سباقات الفئة الأولى جروب 1 مرتين مرة ثانية على التوالي.
الى نايف رود رقم 7.
طبعا حصان معروف دائما ما يقاتل ويروح لاشواط قويه، تجهيزه انا اشوفه ممتاز، يعني من سبتمبر ارتاح وشارك مشاركه وحيده في 5 فبراير قبل تقريبا 20 يوم، حل المركز الرابع على المسافه البعيده. اليوم يفترض انه يكون ساعده السباق في
والسيناريو المتوقع بالنسبة لك أبو أحمد؟
أتوقع قيادة الشوط من قبل الجواد فابلس، تمركز الخيل خلف السرعة، ممكن سوني بوي لسن يكون في الترقب، ايضا ممكن الجواد نايف رود. انا ما ادري سيسكن اليوم مش ممكن افضل تكتيك له، تعرف لما يصير اسطبل داخل بثلاث جياد يكون الخطه
او شعار داخل ثلاث جياد لان اسطبلين مختلفين.
نعم يعني مدربين مختلفين لكن نفس الشعار يعني، فيفترض انه يكون الخطه تلعب لمصلحة الجميع.
وبذكرك لهذه النقطة، نحن نعرف سعيد بن سرور فيصل، ونعرف أن سعيد بن سرور عندما يحقق لقب يحب جدا أن يحافظ على لقبه، لذلك دال باسمين ما شاء الله في الشوط هذا.
ما في شك طبعا سعيد بن سرور مدرب كبير ومدرب يدرس الخطوات ويعرف كيف يوجه خيله بطريقة ناجحة وطريقة جميلة. أقدر أقول جودولفين له ثقل، جودولفين له حضور، جودولفين له صبغة ملكية يجيد فيها تقييم خيله بطريقة جميلة جدا. يعني صعب انك تشوف هالاشواط ما تتخيل انه السيناريو بيكون موجود فيه جودولفين.
اول شوط ياباني، ثاني شوط ياباني، هل نكمل المنوال والنمط بانتصار لفولش ابو احمد؟
صعبة في الشوط.
خلاص توقف سلسلة انتصارات الياباني في الشوط.
لكن في نفس الوقت يعني تشوف اول ما في شيء صعب. ومدرب اللي جاي مع ستيفولش مدرب كبير، واليوم راح يشارك ايضا في كاس السعوديه مع الفرس مارشال لورين، وثبت نفسه ايضا في الاراضي الامريكيه في بريدرز كاب تحديدا. فيعني كل شيء مفتوح، مع خصوصا مع لعبه الاوزان اللي ممكن تستفيد منها.
يعجبني سكاتزينو انتصاره جدا مميز في دوفيل، نافس وقاف سكوب خلف المركز الثاني فرق طول واحد. يعني اذا بقول عندي حصان اسود في الشوط بيكون كاتزينو، وخاصه انا بنفس شعار سيلوي اللي بيكون في الشوط الرئيسي. هل سيشكل خطر في الشوط بوجهه نظرك فيصل؟
انا بالنسبه لي لو بقول على
شكلك مستبعد.
لا اكثر اثنين عجي صراحه، الفرس رقم 2 برنس الزوي، والجواد اللي هو البون سميدي. اتوقع الجوادين هذول تكون كلمه الشوط فيما بينهم. باقي لما هذا الجواد جدا ممتاز فولش، بالعكس انا اشوفه حالته زين، الكونديشن جميل، صان ممتاز. صحيح انه لديه صار واحد لكن منافس، لكن الفرس والبارون
اسم واحد منهم من سيكون؟
لا الفرس والبارون.
الفرس والبارون منهم اسم واحد؟
اتوقع الفرس.
الفرس. ابو احمد؟
انا بروح مع سيسكني
مباشره. اذا
خمسه الفائزين في المراكز الاولى، ابطال العالم، ابطال العشب وابطال المضمار العشبي. هنا اقطار العالم من يعبر كأس البحر الأحمر، تكافؤ الفئة الثانية. تكافؤ الفئة الثالثة هنا رقم 15 فابلس شعر سمو الأمير فيصل بن خالد بن عبد العزيز، على صاوته سيلفستر دي سوزا إلى البوابة العاشرة. هنا رقم 3 سكازينو مع مايكل بارزلونا جروب 2 على نفس المسافة. لحظات ويكتمل عقد الأسماء المشاركة في ثالث الأشواط الأمسية العالمية. ساني بوليستون إلى البوابة 12 في آخر مشاركة، كسب جروب 1 على مسافة 2800 متر. مشاهدينا ضيوف الكرام المشاهدون لميدان الملك عبد العزيز بن عبد الرحمن هنا في عاصمة المملكة العربية السعودية، اندفاع مميزة في ثالث أشواط هذه أمام المسار الرئيسية. كذلك هنا تقدم لرقم 7 من المسار الخارجي نايفرود يحمل 7 ممثل بريطانيا. هنا الأصوات المميزة على الأرضية العشبية في ميدان الملك عبد العزيز. هنا التقدم إلى كأس البحر الأحمر. مشاهدينا الأعزاء، لا يزال نايفرود يقودهم إلى المركز الأول مع ستيف فوليش في صدارة هذا الشوط، وأيضا التقدم في المرتبة الخامسة والسادسة. هنا بون سميدي ممثلا لإيرلندا. هنا يبدأ التقدم بتصنيف جروب 2. لا يزال ستيف فوليش الياباني يقودهم المرتبة الأولى. أيضا المراقبة والتقدم من قبل الأسماء المشاركة. دبي فيوتشر ممثلا للإمارات. هنا يبدأ التقدم بتصنيف الاستد، أحد أهم الأسماء المشاركة. كذلك الأميرة برنسيزو هنا تبدأ تظهر وتبدأ التقدم على المضمار العشبي، والتقدم البعيد هنا للياباني ستيف فوليشر برنسيزو. هنا التقدم والحضور أيضا بقية الأسماء القادمة. مشاهدينا الأعزاء، رقم 9 أيضا حضور لسيسكاني مع جيمس دويل ممثلا للإمارات. برنسيزو وصفة جروب 1 تبدأ التقدم والحضور قد كذلك من سيتي فليش. هنا ميدان الملك عبد العزيز، هنا العالم، هنا التقدم لسيسكاني. 400 متر الفاصلة والأخيرة، مرحلة الطيران إلى كأس البحر الأحمر. سيتي فويلستون ثلاثية المقدمة والصدارة. سيتي فويش يبدأ التقدم. اليابان هنا هاتريك اليابان، التقدم لليابان. هنا التقدم سيتي فوليش، هنا يتقدم بالدرجة 112. اليابان تسيطر على خط النهاية. كأس البحر الأحمر يعبرهم. هنا الأجمل، هنا الأكمل بتصنيف جروب 2. هنا اليابان، هنا الحضور ب3 دقائق و6 ثواني و8 أجزاء الثانية. انطلق أولا ووصل أولا كذلك إلى خط النهاية. قادهم في ليلة عالمية، قادهم في أمسية عالمية. هنا انتصر عليهم، هنا كان أجراهم أقواهم وأفضلهم وأميزهم على خط النهاية. وبكل مجريات الشوط ستيف فوليش على خط النهاية. هنا الجمال يحضر، وهنا الكمال تواجد مع اليابان، وهنا الحضور المميز. ستيف فوليش هنا تقدم، ظفر برعاية
Christophe Lemaire, take a bow. You've written him to slip again on Stay Foolish. 3 up for Japan.
I don't even know how he did it. At one point I thought maybe some other riders would go with him, right? He's out there and you're thinking, oh my gosh, he's going to do it again. Some other riders tried to come up and make an impact, but no one took that initiative to actually throw down and clear winner.
He's putting on a massive player this evening, and we've seen it in 3 different configurations, going slightly shorter on the turf. We've seen turf sprint and now a long distance marathon. He's able to ration out that speed of these quality Japanese horses and really leave the field with no chances. they turned for home. Siskany had a beautiful trip, the ideal pocket trip. It was what I had hoped for. And really, when James Doyle tipped out, there was no chance. Stay Foolish just had too much left in the tank.
I want to say I'm a little disappointed celebration from the Japanese. When I saw Yoshuta Yahagi actually win the Breeders' Cup, they won the NTRA, the National Thoroughbred Racing Association Moment of the Year for their celebration. They were like, oh, we expected to win now.
And from an international form perspective and I think perspective, this race makes perfect sense.
Absolutely.
Sonny Belliston, a really tough, hard-knocking horse, has run a huge race under a big weight. Siskany's come there cruising under James Doyle, but just didn't have what this horse Stay Foolish had in the finish. Why not?
The other thing, keep in mind, the top three finishers all saved every inch of ground. I say the finishers. The winner was down there on the inside setting the pace. You saw Siskany, who was down there in that perfect pocket position, faded a little bit, but still finished third. And Sonny Boy Liston was tucking just behind Siskany as they rounded the far turn and eventually was able to grind away and get second. So speed inside has really been an advantageous position to be on the grass this season.
Can I say the horse I feel the worst for is Naif Road. Missed the break completely, wasn't standing still at all, jumped out of there. At one point ran right up alongside. He was the one that was pressing the pace here and really tried to fight on around the turn before fading, but did so much stuff.
You've seen the first two installments of Christophe Lemaire. Oh, this is a box set. Here's Tom Stanley.
Wow. 3 for Christophe Lemaire. Unbelievable. But you know, I was very confident with that horse because last morning he looked beautiful. I had very good feeling on him. I knew he would stay the trip. So once again, we took the lead and he was very comfortable in front. And then he used his stamina, and wow, what a performance.
He just kept going. Were you confident he'd keep going?
Yes, that's right, but he was so comfortable in front, running his pace, that, you know, he was doing very well, so he didn't stop.
What an incredible night for you and for Japan. Well done.
Yeah, unbelievable. Thank you very much.
Stay Foolish completes the hat-trick, a glorious hat-trick for 42-year-old Christophe Lemaire. As John Hunt said, as the sun sets here, it is victory for the land of the rising sun again. And we'll be right back with you for more after this. Stay Foolish garlanded in the Longines rug after victory in the Red Sea Turf Handicap. And the good news for all other countries is that the next race is for local horses. So no chance of a Japanese winner. Yoshita Yahaga, one of the great trainers in the world, takes a big prize here. welcome back. What a glorious scene that is as the sun just dips down behind the grandstand here, 30 miles outside Riyadh at King Abdulaziz racetrack, first built in 2003. We've been racing here, racing the modern thoroughbred here in the kingdom since 1965. One great innovation is this race. Longest race here on Saudi Cup nights is the Longines Red Sea Turf Handicap. First thing to note, Matt Benier, Nayef rode blue and red silks. Andrea Arzani couldn't get him out.
Yeah, very difficult position to be in at that point when you miss the break, and then we're going to see as they go down the front side for the first time, ends up making a bit of a brush out in the clear. That's really a no-win situation where you've expended quite a bit of energy after missing the break as badly as this one did. Not an ideal situation. Meanwhile, Lemaire, who is, again, just putting on an absolute masterclass this evening, breaks alertly, goes right to the front, and I think they're going a fair pace. I don't think they're out there completely walking, but boy, I mean, when you're in the zone, you're in the zone.
What this jockey cam is showing us, Michelle, is, it sounds obvious, but the turf track is relatively tight here, right to the inside of the big sweeping main track. You are turning an awful lot.
Yeah, certainly you are, and that's hard on some horses when we're talking about when to move your horse. A lot of horses can't get at full speed when they're turning, so they have to either wait for the straight or get that full speed beforehand. What we saw there from that view also is that the turf course is very firm. You can hear their feet rattle.
And just cast your eye to the grey there. That's Princess Zoe. You can see Joey Sheridan. He's desperate to try and shelve her in, get a bit of cover, get her in, cover less ground.
I actually thought when she was wide open and Christoph was loose on the lead that he maybe should have just let her go up there and see what she would do, because the whole time instead he spent trying to find cover for it. You see she took a pretty hard hit right there, and that's never good, right? Throws you off pace, throws you off balance, and you're just not going to be able to deliver your full run.
Got a bit rough inside for Siskani there for a second or two as well.
A little bit, but in the grand scheme of things, that sort of position, it was almost a replica of the race we saw from Meydan most recently. It just happened to be against better horses here this afternoon. But the thing that you want to keep an eye on, and we mentioned it right after the race, you've got your winner, Stay Foolish, you've got Siskani down on the rail, you've got Sonny Boy Liston just in behind him drafting. Those are the three horses that make up your top three finishers when all is said and done.
I also want to point something out, Nick, when we're watching Jockey Cam right there. You see how the horses' heads are bobbing up and down, and you can almost feel like it's a merry-go-round when you're watching the view. That's because they're not going at a top speed. So when you watch the Jockey Cam and the top of the lane on some of these dirt races where they're going to be going all out, you'll see that ride gets a lot smoother. You can really use it as a gauge. Even right now, the horse's head is moving a lot less, starting to put it down and put it out as they really hit to accelerate here. It's just so much smoother than it was early on when they were just galloping along. And there's, Princess Zoe taking a little bit of a hit on the outside.
Yeah, we were riding with Andrea Arzani there, and you could see the horses converging upon him. Nayef Road starts to beat a retreat. And at this point, you think, well, Siskani's riding shotgun to the outside under Doyle, but our eye was drawn to him. It should have been drawn to Lemaire, who was motionless.
And unfortunately, anybody that liked this horse, Siskani, you looked like you were in really good position, but to your point, Nick, Lemaire was looking like a statue in the stirrups at the top of the lane. He hadn't asked it really for any run at any point. Finally, when he cuts Stay Foolish loose, opens up to an authoritative victory. It's safe to say this is going to be one of the more impressive performances of the evening.
All right, we're going to head over to the trophy presentation now. And that was a good look at the winner of the Longines Red Sea Turf Handicap. Once again, Christophe Lemaire going to be coming up to be taking a trophy from Regional Brand Manager of Longines, Patrick Yon. He's going to have quite the collection after this night is done. I think he also gets to take home a beautiful Longines watch. That's Patrick right there. We see him at several of the big events around the world. This Longines, a longtime sponsor of horse racing. Bless you.
Bless you, Christophe.
And going to be coming up right now to get his trophy, Yoshito Yahagi. Put it right next to his Breeders' Cup trophy.
So it is all about Japan so far. Will the whole night be all about Japan? Got two fantastic chances in the Saudi Cup itself. The Breeders' Cup winner, Marsh Loren, bidding to become the first filly to win the race. They also have the Japanese dirt champion, T.O. Keynes. But standing in their way, a serious quartet of United States horses, never mind Mishriff. One of those horses from the US is Country Grammar, who is owned by Amir Zidane. Amir is best known in horse racing as the owner of Medina Spirit, the horse who was disqualified earlier in this week officially from first place in the Kentucky Derby, and who very sadly lost his life subsequently of a fatal heart attack. It's been a really tough year for Amir with this horse, and Country Grammar is hoping to give him a day to remember here at King Abdulaziz this evening. He joins me now. Amir, thanks for talking to us. You've spoken quite a bit about the Kentucky Derby and how you feel about it in the last 24 hours or so. Am I right in thinking that for you this is a book that isn't closed? It's going to have a few more chapters written yet.
Hey Nick, thank you for having me. It's good to see you here again. Certainly, I'm really confident, as I've mentioned earlier, and at the sake of sounding very repetitive, I strongly believe in our case, and I firmly believe once our case is reviewed on the merits, on the facts, in a very objective manner, we will absolutely be reinstated as the Kentucky Derby. I have no doubt in my mind.
Okay. So what a lot is, how can that happen? The horse has tested positive for a banned substance, a banned medication. They're the rules. He gets disqualified. On we move.
On the outside, if you just stop there, you're probably right. But it's not as simple as that. You need to dig deeper. We have gone through the court process, and we have obtained a ruling whereby all parties were ordered to undergo a laboratory test. And the laboratory test has determined conclusively by Dr. George Malin's lab at Industrial that it is an ointment. Now, if you look at the rules clearly stipulate that if it were to be beta acetate, then we're talking about the betamethasone that would be subject to disqualification, and that's it. However, the confirmed substance that was determined to be found in Medina's system was the Valerate, and Valerate is probably, you could consider a violation, but that violation doesn't call for a disqualification. It's an ointment, and with that, once we are reviewed properly, objectively, this narrative will prevail.
It seems to me that there is two separate strands of this case. One is, has the horse had a banned substance administered? And that is what you're debating, because you're saying it's a different compound that shouldn't be considered a banned substance. The other strand of this is the view of much of America and much of global racing of the horse's trainer, Bob Baffert, one of the most hitherto celebrated trainers in the world, now under the microscope because of this and because of previous incidents. You described this yesterday as a witch hunt. You chose your words pretty carefully. You paused before you said it. Why do you think that is?
Well, look, Bob's been extremely successful, and I don't want to risk basically elaborating and just causing speculation and arguments that are just not really conducive. I trust in the integrity of the whole process, and I choose to stand by the greatest trainer that has ever seen or the sport has ever witnessed. And it's not my emotional friendship side to Bob, and I read all sort of articles. I know the man, and I know the man's emotions. When Medina passed away, it's like one of his kids passed away. The man loves horses. He will never endanger his reputation, nor endanger his horses. He has had a positive with Gamine. Gamine had a betamethasone 18 days out. The rule book calls for 14 days withdrawal. Every horse metabolizes the drug in a different manner. You cannot hold that against Bob Baffert. Now, why was he emotional? I mean, why did he have that sort of aggressive backlash? Because that's how he felt. He felt that there's absolutely no way that there could be a betamethasone presence. He banned it post-Gamine. So he really felt strongly about that. He felt insulted, and he felt hurt on behalf of the horse, the owner, and himself. And he knew all this was going to break crazy.
Now I can feel your passion really coming out, and there's a deep-seated loyalty to Baffert in you that you've expressed very articulately. Are you going to take this right the way to the ultimate conclusion? Will you push this right to a Supreme Court if needs be?
Myself, my means, my resources are at Bob Baffert's disposal. We are going to see this till the end, if it takes going to the Supreme Court, I will throw every single bit of me into this. That man is a good, decent family man. And I will not stand for any more insults, any more criminal allegation to a man that has been nothing but great to this sport that we all love. This sport is barely hanging on by a thread. The last thing we need is personal biases, jealousy to kick in. All we're asking for is an opportunity to present our case objectively. These stewards, why did we go to Dr. George Malin? To prove the distinction. Why wasn't that distinction considered in the hearing? Was it just a waste of everyone's time? If you're really so adamant at avoiding the facts, why did you waste everyone's time, including mine, and prolong the agony and suffering for all these months if you knew you weren't even going to consider what was supposed to be considered? That's a question mark. But I firmly believe, again, there are calm minds. There's a lot of wisdom that will come together. If at the end of the day, for whatever reason, Medina will be disqualified, fine. If that's what the Supreme Court or whoever the highest authority rules, fine. But we all need to come together for this sport that we all love. Bob Baffert has been nothing but great to me, has been nothing but great to the sport. And he does not deserve all this misinformation. He is compared to other people that I don't want to even mention names because it's improper. But this guy loves his job. And he is great at what he does. And he's been nothing but great to everybody around him. Do you know how many people in his barn, he doesn't like to speak about, you know how many people in his barn that he has saved loved ones and lives for? There's stories that you guys don't even know. And he doesn't even talk about. I know. I am his friend. And it hurts me so much to see a good man's reputation tarnished as such.
But are you able to separate that personal feeling, your personal warmth towards him, and are you able to take a step back and look at the whole picture objectively, do you feel? Or is that kind of impossible for you?
Look, I mean...
And that's in no way a criticism.
No, none taken. I am extremely objective in my approach. I know the facts, right? And I've clearly said that if, at the end of the day, ultimately we get disqualified by the proper objective panel, whichever that may be, I will take it on the chin and I'll be a big boy about it. But my reconciliation would be we've done it once, we can do it again.
Okay. But if process is fair, if you feel process is fair, you're happy to accept the result?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. If for whatever reason we're in front of the KHRC and we feel we got fair verdict, we'll huddle up and talk about it. But I think once this case is in the public domain, in presence of a impartial, objective judge within the court system, there is no doubt in my mind, absolute no doubt in my mind that we will win this.
If Medina Spirit was still alive, would he be here in Saudi Arabia today?
What do you think? Absolutely.
I'd say for sure.
Yeah.
And so how important is this event now to you and your ownership of Country Grammar?
Look, I mean, I mean, look all around you. This is really, this is the place to be at this time of the year. It's the richest race. I'm kind of biased because I'm on the board, and Prince Bandar and my fellow board members have put on an amazing meet. For me, it's pivotal, and I've always wanted to have my horses graduated after having won the Kentucky Derby, then the Breeders' Cup, then Saudi, then obviously Dubai. So it's so important, and I'm committed to it.
Okay, Amma, I'm going to put your horse Country Grammar under the microscope now with Michelle Ewan and Matt Bernier. Right, Matt, is Ami's horse now, Country Grammar, is he good enough to take a hand in this race?
I think he's the most intriguing American entrant of the four. He's a horse that on his best day, we saw in Southern California, he can run giant races. And if you're someone who uses speed figures to go through and handicap races, he's the fastest American horse in the race. Down on the inside, he has tactical speed. I think he's not without a shot.
Okay, so that's one semi. note of encouragement. Michelle?
Now you're like setting me up to say something bad.
Yeah, you're like
Go for it, Michelle.
You're like the casting judge in Dancing with the Stars.
I mean, is he fast enough to beat some of these horses is my question. He's coming in off a really long layoff, right? I know he's been working really well. Bob's been working him in very stiff company with excellent horses. But this is going to be a big field of international horses. How did he sell this horse to you? How did he say, okay, this is the one we're going to pick?
Well, first of all, I'm just happy to be here. 1, with a horse. 2, and with Bob. 3, and the whole team. So that's kind of where I'm coming at. Again, it was a project for Bob and I. Immediately post Medina Spirit, we just really took a few weeks off, and we huddled up again, and we've decided to scout for horses. We had a few names. Bob wanted some time to think about it, and when looking at all the facts, all the numbers, and everything else, I thought partnering first of all with Elliott Walden and Windstar was absolutely a pleasure. And on the merits of the horse, we think that he has a chance. Now, is he going to win or not? God knows, but we're here.
I have one final question for you before you go. If you have a Kentucky Derby candidate this year and it's trained by Bob Baffert, and this process rumbles along, what do you do? Do you just skip the race, or do you...
No. Bob Baffert will be in the Kentucky Derby this year. Don't ask me how, but he will be there. And if we have a horse in the Derby, I will be with him. Now, hypothetically speaking, and I hate to answer hypotheticals, but if I were to have a horse that is trained by Bob Baffert, that theoretically would probably be in the Derby, it's either Bob and I go or we don't go. We're one team.
Amir Zeidan, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Amir Zeidan, owner of the late Medina Spirit, and today owner of Country Grammar, also on the board here at King Abdulaziz Racetrack. And from one prominent local owner to some prominent local horses, it's the race for the big locals up next. Don't go away. Okay, so runners in the paddock for our next race, and an important opportunity for some of the local horses to really shine. Oof, and for us to take a breath as passions run high here at King Abdulaziz, Michelle.
I think that passions, when they are well executed and very eloquent, are something that we always need in the sport, right? And I think every trainer would love to have an owner like Amir who's willing to stand by your side through everything.
Yeah, whatever the rights and wrongs of the case and whatever your views of the case, there's absolutely no doubt that is as strong and as considered and as clear an exhibition of one man's loyalty to another as you are going to see, and that in itself is an admirable quality. So then, runners in paddock for this race, and a race where Michelle and I are going to need some expert assistance, and luckily we've enlisted services of Nawaf Al-Dahash, local trainer. Good to see you, Nawaf.
Hi, good to see you again. Last year you handicapped the race pretty well. I don't think you need me.
I'm going to handicap the race again.
You're going to be handicapping this. I'm sitting this right out, Nawaf. You two can have at it. Is it a good edition of the race?
This edition is actually very different than last year. Last year, if you remember, it was easier to pick the winner. This year, with the difference in weight and kilos, I think it's wide open. Especially the last horse. If you see the lowest rated horse in this race, My Himma, he is running.
Welcome back, paddock side, to King Abdulaziz Racetrack here in Riyadh. Horses in the paddock ahead of the Jockey Club local handicap presented by the Ministry of Culture. And no small purse here either, because it's worth $1 million, Michelle.
I like it. That last year we were just talking about how much easier it was to pick a winner, but this seems to be a highly competitive field, and I can't wait to hear if you like my pick or not. Now, if I like the 6 horse in here.
Okay, so for those of you who've just joined us again, introducing Nawaf Al-Dahash, leading local trainer who handicapped this race beautifully for us last year and is going to do so again, Nawaf. I'm very happy to bow to your better judgment here.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here with you guys. This race actually is very difficult to pick the winner. It's not like last year. It was easier to spot the winner. However, this race, you like the horse number 6,
yes,
which is a nice horse,
Oku.
but last race he did not show up. However, this race is divided between 2 types of horses. Horses that have been very solid form. They're doing very well in the last 3 races, and horses that used to do very good and then they came down in form a little bit. I like the horse number 20 actually, My Himma. He is a very good horse at this distance. He's a fighter, and I think he can handle this race and compete with the horses. You can see Al Mubir, horse number 1, with highest rated horse in this race. He's coming into this race very well. He won the last 2 races. However, he's younger horse, first time meeting with the older horses, and high 62 kilos.
Now wait, you said you like the 20 horse Mahama, but his last 2 races were not good at all.
Last 2 races, but if you look before that, he was very, very good actually. He's solid horse. He can handle this distance. Also, the horse number 14, Bamrallah, today with the American jockey on board, Luis Saiz. I think he's wearing blinkers today. He's going to be very dangerous in this race. However, you can look for horses who can come from behind the base. You have the number 3 horse, so that he can handle any distance. He can come from behind the base. Also, Kathir, who was purchased for this race actually by Prince Saud bin Salman. He has shown very good form in this distance, and he won last race very far actually. I think he's going to be the favorite today, the number 2 horse. And also number 3 horse, and the long shot here, number 20.
Okay, so let's just recap the details here. This is race 4. It is the Jockey Club local handicap worth $1 million, 1,800 meters. Good luck to John Hunt.
Yeah, thank you. I'm still trying to find a couple of them, to be honest with you, but they're all streaming off to post here. Number 1 is Al Mubir, who won 2 local Group 1s this season. A 6-time winner is number 3, Sayo Dad, interesting one. We've got the highest rated Saudi-bred filly in the race, number 4, Najbat Al Ayez, and number 6 is Oku, who has won 4 of his last 5 races. 7 is Al Abrazi, who was a 6th length winner last time out. Howland was a Group 2 winner last time out at domestic level. 9 is a non-runner here. That's Johar Al-Nariz, who doesn't run. Number 10 is Ala Sawab. And then reading down the list, interesting that Frankie Dettori rides Motakeyef, number 11 on the card. This was a horse who was 2nd last year. Interesting. Al Haroub is a non-runner, number 12 on the card. Then we have other interesting runners, including Nabea Al-Tib, who was 4th to Emblem Road last time out. Emblem Road runs in tonight's Saudi Cup. Then also watch for Motabasha, number 15, who ran well in Group 1 races this year. 16 on the card is Wajah Al-Rider, in form, but does he truly stay is a big question. Watch for 18, Al-Daz, who is a big improver this year. And the list goes all the way down to number 21, Mutabain, who ran poorly in Group 2 company last time out. So 2 absentees sit this one out. Big field arriving at the post.
Okay, so runners arriving at the post, big field for this 4th race, and Nawaf has given you a pretty good guide as to what's likely to happen. Nawaf, it may just be worth touching on the strength of the breeding scene here in Saudi Arabia, and sort of what your aspirations are as a kingdom, and sort of what you're looking to achieve in the next decade or so.
We want to be like Japan. What they did today was amazing. What they did actually in Breeders' Cup at the beginning, okay, and then what they have done today give us, some inspiration that, with good effort, with buying good mares and having good breeding program, maybe we can achieve that level. Today I think everyone is going to witness how the Saudi breeding program has improved, especially in the Derby. Saudi Derby, you will see a Nadir, very solid horse, is the best or the finest of Saudi breeding. Also, you will see in the sprint the horse Fazza, who raced last year and came in the 3rd place, I think. Today, I think he's going to be the favorite. So our breeding has improved very much, but we still hope to achieve a level where, Japan has achieved now.
Who are the leading stallions out here?
Now maybe it's Teletext.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. We have
I remember Teletext. Pascal Barry trained the horse for Judmont Farms in France.
He came to run here.
Nick knows all about Teletext.
He came to run here and then retired to stud. He's owned by Prince Faisal, and the horse we're going to see today is by him. And also, if you saw the race yesterday, the filly that Joel Rosario rode and won the first race was also by Teletext.
How much of a kick does it give you to welcome the world to King Abdulaziz?
We are very thrilled to have everyone here, and the competition is getting bigger and bigger, especially now after all the races has been, captured as Group 3, the undercard, or the main race as a Group 1. And we hope after we see those horses, we can achieve that level and compete with them with the Saudi-bred horses.
Just want to update people what's going on right now. We have a horse having a saddle adjustment. So you see the rest of the field walking around, everybody being very well behaved. The one horse that's affected came into the middle and they retightened up the girth and reset the saddle. Sometimes when it gets loose, it falls back a little bit.
All right, Frankie Dettori's riding this race. He rides Motakayef, the local trainer Mohammed Al Rashid, who is standing by with Tom.
And here is.
He is indeed, and his son Faisal is going to translate. First of all, Hamad and Faisal, you have booked the best jockeys, Joel Rosario, Frankie Dettori.
يقول أفضل شيء أول سؤال عندي أنت مختار أفضل الجوكية جويل روزاريو وفرانك ديتوري.
والله هذا من حظنا الكريم، نحن الجوكية هذا الله حالفنا بهم، والخيل إن شاء الله تكون أكثر من تكون من الدرجة الأولى الخيل.
He said yes, that's correct. They are the best jockey in the world, and also we have a good horses running today, and we hope inshallah the horses do great today.
Of the two horses, Al-Mubir and Motakayef, who do you think has the best chance?
يقول عندك المبير ومتكيف وش اللي شانصه أكثر عندك؟
والله إن شاء الله شانص الاثنين ممتاز. المبير يكون شانصه أقوى، لكن المبير إن شاء متكيف يجي وراه إن شاء الله يطرده بإذن الله إن شاء الله، أو يكون الأول، لأنه الركبة الخيال العالمي من أمريكا المبير.
He said Al-Mubir is the good horse and grade 2 winner last 2 races, local bred, and also Mutakayef a great horse. He ran last year in same race and he finished second with Dettori. So we hope both of them come first and second.
Hamad, Faisal, thank you very, very much indeed. It just goes to show, Nick, whatever language you ask in, you cannot get a trainer to pick which of their horses is best of them.
Never. But you did a valiant job, Tom. Anyway, managed to get them both sitting on the fence.
Maybe Nav can pick. Which one do you like better?
You're pretty clear on it, aren't you?
I like the number 2 horse.
No, of his two.
Oh, if it's 2, I will go with number 1 because it's a good form. The other horse, Mutakayef, who was second in this race last year, he raced only 1 race after that race and did not show up. Maybe he's not fit enough for this race. However, his other horse, Al-Mubir, he's a very, very solid horse.
Joel Rosario going to be aboard there, and no stranger to picking up foreign riders. Jose Ortiz actually rode this horse as well.
I think he have a very good chance. However, I'm going with number 2 and number 3, and I think I like Nab'a Tib, but I'm not sure what number is he. Number 13.
13.
Yeah, 13. Yeah, with 57 kilos on it, I think he has a good chance.
All right, it won't be too much longer here. Biggest field of the night, full field for the local handicap, $1 million. Small wonder that all the world's major riders were queuing up to take a mount in this.
I know. Especially for some of the riders that maybe didn't have mounts on the card or wanted to get it out. Good way to do so. And if you pick up a nice chunk of the $1 million prize money, there's no harm in that.
If you're following Nawaf, you got the 2-3-13 try.
here.
Okay. If you're like me, I'm the 6'1",
6'1",
Yeah.
All right. I wonder what John Hunt's on here. Hunty, it's all yours.
A couple of paracetamol, to be honest with you, Nick. As these last few load up here, Frankie Dettori about to go in on the grey. Motokayev, number 11. Also stepping forward now is Alabrazi, who won by 6 lengths last time out. Obviously, it was a much lesser race. Newton's to come forward as well. Just taking a turn is Najabat Alaez, who's in the green and yellow colours to the right there. As I say, she's the highest rated Saudi-bred filly in this race. And Aldar's on the fast side there, number 18. Very interested to see this rate of progression can continue. Aldar's a really big improver. Obviously at a much lower level. This is very stiff company indeed. So the Jockey Club Cup, a local handicap over 1,800 metres, and it looks as though will be set once Najbat Alaez goes forward. Big field, and we're good to go, I think. Starter has the final say, and they're off and racing. Dettori was out like a bullet there. Motokayev was on springs coming out of the gates, ridden along early as Aldar's to try and push on with that early advantage. Motobasha's the one with the yellow cap in behind them and rushed up as well with the black cap. That is May Hama, who's also made ground in behind the leaders. Then we've got the runner with the red cap, that is Bama Allah, distressing the caps, which you can see for yourself, lots of them in these white and red colours, and the caps, of course, the only way to distinguish between the two, of the 6 or 7 of them. Aldar's, meanwhile, has come through to lead on the rail. Motokayev out wide, just in between those two we've got Bama Allah, who's now probably the overall leader as they race towards the end of the back straight. Al-Mobir's placed fairly well just in behind those. Waj Al Raya, number 16's in the mid division as well. Then trying to make ground is Howlan. Watch for him on the outside. White cap, blue braces. He's now drawing right alongside Al Habrazi, who's another one who's trying to improve in on this field. And further back is Motobain in mid division now. As at the back end of the field, Sayodad's got quite a lot to do there, and having traffic problems as well, Sayodad. And likewise, Najabat Alaez will need to be very good if she's to maintain her forward momentum as well. So they come round the home turn, and now it's Oku who's coming through to dispute the lead from Motobasha on the rail. Oku, Motobasha, these two go on. Then we've got Motokayev, who weakens out of contention. Motobain's trying to come home strongly. Dettori was badly hampered there. The leader now is Oku, now has new attentions because the blue cap arriving on the scene is Arn number 17. Arn Alawan strong here. Arn Alawan is not for catching. Arn Alawan was to score. Second was Oku. Third position there for Kathir, who ran on quite strongly. Al-Mobir was fourth, and they were well clear of a nearer Nabaya Al. But just look at the joy on the face of our right Alawan to land this massive local handicap. And Alawan, a really good job done in decisive fashion there. Not sure Frankie Dettori will be desperately pleased with the amount of room he was given as he weakened there on Motokayev. Seemed to be very badly hampered. And interesting to know if any of the other jockeys in the race understand some pretty harsh Italian. So that might be coming their way, because that looked rough for Dettori. And of course Al-Mobir, Joel Rosario, the other high-profile rider in the race, he finished on the fringe of it on Al-Mobir. But an exciting race, loads of them with strong chances. Arn Alawan, the winner here, number 17 on the card. This horse without a win this season, but did run well over course and distance in January. Maybe being plotted up for the big one, the Cheltenham Festival back in Britain, of course, round the corner. There'll be lots of that sort of chat in the next fortnight. But Arn Alawan goes on to score in tremendous style. There he is, number 17. Pretty decisive win, really, wasn't it? He burst clear and really was not for catching. I thought at one stage Oku, who was the horse who had won 4 of his last 5 starts, was going to come and make a real dash for the winning line. He gave it every chance, didn't he? But here, Arn Alawan with Oku on the rail. Pale yellow jacket is Almobir, and the blue cap of Kathir. Kathir and Almobir were close for fourth. And you can see, never nearer, that red jacket, that was Nabir Al-Tib. That was the Emblem Road form for later on. Not really sure you can say it was particularly upheld. So, let's hear from the winning rider with Faisal.
Congratulations, Camilio Ospina. What a great ride, what a great horse. I don't know what I say for you, my friend.
Oh, Faisal, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I just want to say I'm thankful with the Prince Mita Big Nagdullah and Talal Sharain for giving me the support and for giving me the chance to ride in Saudi Arabia. And especially today, I've been at Subai, the trainer, because he believed for me, for this horse. He told me, Camilo, this horse is going to win. And things got very well. And I want to say thank you to my wife and my daughter, because this is my support, you know, it's all for me, you know. And about the race, thanks God, I had the number one, you know. It's very difficult because too much traffic in that race, but thanks God, I have the same horse with the stable. I got a chance inside, and thanks God, in the last 400 meters, I had good weight. Win.
Great ride, my friend. My friend, you know, a lot of champion horses in this race. Actually, everybody not even think about Ana Lawan today. And we know a long time ago, this horse champion was one day he gonna do it. The star happened coming today. Actually, he's very shy in our sky.
Yes, you know, I'm working on the horses in the morning. This horse and Bemerala. And I was thinking the Bemerala is more better than this. But bidding, he told me, Camilo, this is better. You're gonna win the race. Okay, no problem. You tell me I ride. And thanks God today, all well, very good.
Thank God. Good teamwork, good trainer, good everybody. Thank you, Camilio, and good luck for other race.
Thank you very much. Thank you. No, on a start, I'm finished now. On a start, and I'm finished now.
Thank God. You do the thing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, this is what Camilio Ospina he's saying after the race.
Camilio Ospina there with Faisal. Nawaf still alongside me. Nawaf, that's a big moment for Camilio. He's absolutely delighted.
Unbelievable. It's very, very surprising result for me, to be honest. With this horse, beating all those horses with him, especially if you look at his form lately. But what a good job for the trainer, Bidan Esbei, who prepared this horse and brought him back to his good form that had shown, you know, when he was 2 years old.
Yeah. But he just got him down the handicap a bit, targeted at this race.
Yeah.
Quite clever.
I was talking to him, his trainer, and he told me he's a good horse, but he has 4 horses, and all of his horses, he said they're good. So you cannot know for sure. But I follow his best performance, and I thought the other horses had better chance than
just clever bit of training.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Very good trainer.
What does this mean to the barn? Because it looks like every stable person is out right now celebrating with this horse.
It's unbelievable, you know, great event. What a day to remember. And with the Saudi Cup having this race on the same day for the Saudi horses, it's unbelievable.
A terrific day here at King Abdulaziz. An Alawan winning the local handicap. Nawaf, I wanted to talk to you about the 2 horses that represent the kingdom in the Saudi Cup itself. Now, on paper, on everything we know, they've got their work cut out. Making Miracles, former British horse, and Emblem Road, American bred and with a really smart pedigree. But can you see either of them landing a blow this evening?
I think they can compete today. Of course, Making Miracles his form has developed a lot since he came from Britain. He has won almost all races he raced in, especially the King race last race. He won that very easy without a whip. So I think he has a good chance.
And you heard the reception even this horse got for winning the local race. What will this crowd do if one of the 2 Saudi horses produces a massive global upset and wins the Saudi Cup?
You know, I cannot describe it actually. It's going to be unbelievable.
I could describe it. I know exactly what it's going to be like in here. It's going to be insane. The people are fans of horse racing, obviously. And I think that everybody loves to root for the home team, and that's what you get sometimes.
An Alawan wins the local handicap. Nawaf, thank you very much for your insight. We quite literally couldn't have done it without you.
Thank you so much.
Camilio Ospina, a red letter day for him and for Arn Alawan. We'll be back with much more when you rejoin us shortly. So there is Arn Alawan, the winner of the local handicap. The small matter of $1 million to that horse's connections. And the atmosphere is just beginning to build as dusk falls, as twilight falls, Michelle.
I think it's steadily gotten a little bit busier in here, Nick. And now, like you said, the atmosphere is really starting to ramp up.
Let's take in some of the ambiance of Riyadh. Welcome back. You are with us here at King Abdullah's racecourse here in Riyadh. We've had 4 races this evening, dusk falling, and we are now just 2.5 hours away from the world's most valuable horse race, the 2022 Saudi Cup presentation taking place after the local handicap.
Remember, this is presented by the Ministry of Culture here, and Khaled Al Sakur going to be delivering the trophy to Baden Al Subi, as well as King Abdullah bin Al Aziz's sons. Camilo Espina also going to be taking home a trophy. Very happy here.
And as that celebration tells you, as the wild celebrations when Arn Alawan came in told you, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is one that has a deep love and affection, respect and bond that goes back generations with the horse.
جاء وقتك يا العليا. لا 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 وين جيت؟ ما شاء الله عليك، ايش هالتراكيب؟ جاهزة يا العليا.
no doubt the deep bond between the people of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the horse, particularly the thoroughbred racehorse. After all, it's in this kingdom and this part of the world where it all originated. And the crowds are pouring in now. We're expecting capacity today by the time we get to Saudi Cup time, 8:35 local time, which would be a record here at the King Abdulaziz racetrack, which looks glorious in the gloaming. As I welcome the chairman of the Jockey Club of Saudi Arabia, His Royal Highness Prince Bandar bin Khalid Al Faisal. Prince Bandar, here we are again. Can you believe it's year 3?
I know, and a lot warmer.
Last year we were sitting here
in the rain,
absolutely freezing cold in the pouring rain. This is more Saudi weather that we know and love.
Yeah.
What have you made of the night so far?
Well, as an organizer, you only see the things that go wrong, but I think most people are having a good time. As you mentioned, record number of crowds here, both yesterday and today. People are really taking to international racing, and it's just wonderful to see people from all over the world, 14 countries represented between yesterday and today, and to see the crowds really, take to heart racing here and welcoming everybody. I think it's good. It's good for racing. It's good for everything.
How challenging has it been to overcome the pandemic? Really, all 3 of these editions have been beset by it to a greater or lesser extent.
Absolutely. Last year was a bit more challenging because of the obvious restrictions that were in place. This year is a lot smoother, and we learned from last year. But unfortunately, it's becoming a way of life now.
It is, but one that we all have to live with. As far as this event's concerned, how satisfied are you with its progress as a thoroughbred racing showpiece?
Well, it's Saudi Arabia wanted to put forward an international race that would attract some of the best horses from around the world, and I think that's happening. Also, for me personally and everybody here in the Jockey Club, what we're trying to do is really to push thoroughbred racing and purebred Arabian racing to another level, to improve the quality of horses, and we're starting to see that.
Yeah, I think this is a point worth picking up on, because I think from the outside maybe people think, got loads of money, they can just dump a race course there, put $20 million on and get horses in. Is it a bit different to that? Is it actually a bit deeper? Is it about creating more of a kind of racing tapestry in the country?
Well, racing has been going on here for 60 years as a jockey club here in Saudi Arabia. Well, there was a previous form of it, and then it turned into the Jockey Club of Saudi Arabia. But so it's not strange or new to this part of the world. It's part of the DNA. But I think what we're doing recently is moving it up to a level that's Part 1 country, Group 1 rated horses and races, and to be able to open it up. And now our season is open completely to international horses. There's no restrictions to owners or trainers from anywhere in the world. And what I really hope for is to see one day Saudi horses travel to the US, travel to Europe, and to run there and to run well. That's the goal.
Tell us a little bit about the breeding program that's been going on here, because I feel like that's kind of a part of it. Like you mentioned, racing's been around here for a very long time, but now you're starting to get different stallions and import some brood mares, and we've seen the Saudi horses be competitive on this big day.
Absolutely. I mean, we have the first ever Group 1 Saudi trained horse, but yes, it's improving I think dramatically, because people with the changing of prize money throughout the season, people only see the Saudi Cup, but this is happening throughout, a 10-month season. We start in June and we end in March, so it's a long season we have here. The quality of breeding is improved, but we do have our unique challenges being in a desert environment, and it's something we're working with the breeders at the moment to bring in some expertise from around the world to see how we can help them create a better environment for the breeding and for these horses, and we're identifying new sites within the kingdom that are best suited for breeding, and then trying to help them set up their operation in a way that will improve as greatly as possible, the quality of breeding.
And am I right in thinking that it's not just about Saudi Cup and the Saudi Cup night itself, that you're actually expanding the racing program through the summer months? And people will wonder, how on earth can you race in the summer in Saudi Arabia? But you can.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we race in the western part of Saudi. It's 5,000 feet above sea level. It's this kind of weather all year there. So it's perfect for racing.
And is that where you will go? Do you race quite a bit up there?
Oh, yeah, all summer we're there.
Yeah.
I mean, we're there from June until the beginning of October.
We've seen this event evolve in the 3 years that it's been run, this being the third year. How do you see the event continuing to evolve in the years to come? Do you think there'll be different races run, different distances, things like that?
The goal is for us to make this as attractive as possible for international runners from all over the world. And I think the tweaks needed are minimal, but every year we look at how to make this meet more interesting for people, maybe make it 3 days in the not too distant future. And I think one of the things I really like is that, there are 14 countries represented. We're allowing Group 2, Group 3, Part 2, 3 countries to participate here. So we really want this to be an international meet for people from all over the world to be able to come here and to see just amazing horses run.
Because of that mentality, doesn't it feel validating to have horses like from South America, like we have Aerotrim this year, first one to run out here? So getting not only the main 3 countries that travel a lot, but also from some of the countries that maybe don't make a lot of international trips.
Absolutely, and we're in that category. So owners and trainers from those parts of the world, it's very special for them to come here and to rub shoulders with some of the greatest, in the industry, whether it's the jockeys, whether it's the trainers from the US, from across Europe and Japan. And it means a lot to them, and it's exciting. And I think it also does a tremendous amount of good for them in their own jurisdictions. I think it'll be an incentive across the world.
And just finally, Prince Bandar, I'm just going to test your diplomacy. Because your loyalties are divided as regards the Saudi Cup this year.
Yeah.
Who would you like to see win?
I really would love to see the best horse win, and I truly mean that. Last year we were delighted for Mishrif because Saudi owned a British trained horse. Delighted for the owner because it's achieved out his history in running horses. But to be honest, what I enjoy most is seeing different countries go with special experiences, and you really want the best horse to win that prize. I think that's what would make all really happy.
I won't press you any further, Prince Bandar.
That's as far as I'm going to go.
Thank you very much. I realise I'm on a slightly sticky wicket there. This is what is still to come. On Saudi Cup Night 2022. The feature race, of course, comes up at 8:35 local. Next, an important race, the Abaya Arabian Classic. Then the Saudi Derby, whichever you like, but it could point to the UAE and to Kentucky. Then the Riyadh Dirt Sprint Race 7, Saudi Cup Race 8, all on the main track. Prince Bandar said he wanted the best horse to win the Saudi Cup. Don't we all? Last year, after a pulsating stretch drive in opposition with an American star, Charlatan, that best horse was Mishrif. He would become the winning most thoroughbred racehorse earner of all time if he wins today. He is ridden by David Egan, trained by Jonathan Thady-Goss, and he's owned by Prince A.A. Fazl, and this is his story.
Mishrif is roused to the lead.
Mishrif was your trainer. What would you have learned from the man Mishrif?
He taught me the Arab way of looking at the horse. And he was a very, very good trainer and jockey. The bills to look at, what matters, what doesn't matter. And what I did, when I went there and I found a completely different way in your country, I tried to sort of manage them and use, and I still look at a horse when I first see him, like I look at an Arab horse. You never know what you're getting when you breed them. But you try and hope that some of them are good, and you get to believe it if they've bred them.
When you saw him as a young horse, why did you identify him as the one with potential? What did you see?
He was horrible. The picture I got from him, legs was standing like that and going all over the place. I said, oh my God, what am I going to do with this? And then Coolmore, 2 weeks later, sent me, and he looked like a horse. So when I went, I'm 7, 8 months old, And I took the horses. There were some nice horses there. And John thought so. He said, like this, I said, you're the best.
In the yard, all horse was all frame, you know, he wasn't furnished out at all. But he always had a good, positive attitude about him, and he was very playful. One thing I knew is that with the frame on him, as he got older, he'd get better. And he won nicely as a 2-year-old, but his 3-year-old year was a revelation. But he won very well the Newmarket Stakes, and he went straight off and, of course, won the Prix de Jockey Club at Chantilly, showed a great turn of foot, and then he went on to win at Deauville. So he showed himself to be at least the best 3-year-old in France. And so it was the second running of the Saudi Cup, and the plan has always been to come back again. And it looks a mighty tough field, but so it should be.
Do you still think you need a versatility that is relatively unusual in a horse?
Yeah, it is. The fact that he could do what he did that day, lay up with the American pace, win over a mile and an eighth, mile a furlong, and then come back a month later and win the Shima Classic on a flat turf oval. He's a pleasure to be around. And he's assertive. You go into his box, that's his box, you better be on the P's or he'll soon chase you out. He's one of those.
Well, here he is, the horse that, if he wins the Saudi Cup, will be the richest thoroughbred ever. And Ben, you're charged with riding him every morning. What's he like to ride?
He's amazing to ride, you know, like he's a big character and he knows he's good, and here and there he's a bit too fresh. Wow, it's just pleased to ride a horse like that, you know.
He needs a good rider, though, doesn't he?
No, he can be a handful, you know, like he's big and strong, and he's not everyone's right, that's for sure.
You describe John Gosden as the best trainer in the world.
John, I've never seen anybody so good with detail like John. It's ridiculous. I thought I was good with details, and then I sit with him and said, just do what you want. Because I like my trainer to talk to me, whether it's bad, good, or ugly. Well, what's the fun for me of having a horse you don't know anything about?
How important for Mishriff was that victory in the Juddmonte International?
Well, I'll tell you what, from when we came out of here, that was my and John's target.
It was the one race that his owner, breeder, Prince Faisal, wanted to win. I think it's quite a stallion-making race. It's 1.25 miles in the heat of the summer. All age, York, flat, left-handed track and a proper track with a long straight, and they start racing pretty early there, so it's a race that truly tests horses. He was very keen to make that the definitive race for Mishriff, and the style in which he won it was very much everything that we could possibly have dreamed of.
I can't believe it's been nearly a year since Mishriff won the Saudi Cup. Thady, what was that night like for you? Tell me about your memories of it.
Well, it was a wonderful evening. Obviously, it was a pretty amazing achievement to actually have the race and the meeting on all together. It was a very tricky time of year, and everything was shut down in Saudi. Apart from the race, which was wonderful, and obviously it was a pretty special night. Prince Faisal, who's obviously bred horse for a number of years and is a very special horse to him, he was there, of course, to his whole family. And, you know, if you don't feel the pressure a little bit, what's the point in doing it?
This Saudi Cup meeting obviously has had a huge impact on my life, being the winner of it last year. To be connected with Mishriff, I'm very lucky. Prince Faisal, who has been in the racing industry for so long and was able to win it with a horse he bred, must be very special for him, and for me to be able to deliver that was very heartwarming, because he had the faith in me to put such a young rider in the race as retained jockey, and yeah, very thankful.
Now, you gave a young man a big chance when you took him on. Why? What did you see?
I saw a good rider. He still needs to get some experience about the pace.
Are you enjoying helping him develop as a rider?
I love it.
Does that give you a kick?
Because he's a nice man. He's a nice boy. But David rode a beautiful race that day. He rode a perfect race.
Do you see the interest growing in young people in Saudi Arabia?
Oh, Mishriff did a lot. You should have seen the internet. People were dancing. And because he was called Mishriff.
Because people remember the significance of Mishriff, the man, and what he did for you.
Nobody loves racing on horses like Arabs. I just love the horse. And I think people that don't love horses shouldn't have anything to do with racing. This is the whole thing. If you don't enjoy it, leave it.
Fantastic to hear from Prince Faisal with Nick Luck out here a couple of weeks ago, and David Egan featured in that as well. And well, David, you're looking to retain the title as the Saudi Cup winner. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, very excited. The horse is in great shape, and yeah, looking forward to it.
How do you feel a year on with Mishrif? How different do you feel about him and the race?
Yeah, obviously we've got more of a bond, you could say, because I had an uninterrupted year the year before COVID. A couple of occasions I wasn't able to ride him when he went to France and so on. So yeah, I got to know him more, and I sat on him yesterday morning. He feels great. He looks amazing, and yeah, hopefully we can repeat last year's performance.
I had the pleasure of going to see him in the barns, and you know, he's got a mind on him, hasn't he? He's got his own way of going about things, I think it's fair to say. He's not just sat there, you know, quiet as a lamb.
Absolutely. He's all sort of champion horses. When you go into their stable, they don't ask for respect, they demand it. So he's a horse, you wouldn't want to get too confident with him, but he's a real character, as are all the good ones.
Wish you all the best in trying to retain that crown, and good luck on this horse, Capono Kicking. What a ride to pick up.
Yeah, fantastic. Unfortunate for William, obviously missing a few good rides here, but what can you do? It's the life we live in nowadays. But no, very privileged to get the call up for these connections, and hopefully he can repeat last year's win again.
Cheers, David. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to Tom and David. Mishrif demanded respect on the track, and he also demands respect back at the barns. The Dubai Arabian Classic presented by Lexus. Going to be coming up next here. Horses are on track for that, and warming up to get ready for this 1.25 mile event. Welcome back here to our Saudi Cup card. We're about to be kicking off race number 5, the Dubai Arabian Classic, presented by Lexus, a 1.25 mile event. Michelle Yu joined right now by Jonathan Horowitz from the Arabian Jockey Club. Before we get to talking about this race, let's hear from John Hunt, riders and runners for this 2,000-meter event.
Michel, thank you very much indeed. Yes, we start our list of runners with 2 trained in France. Joris Mendithabel will ride Derrien, who won at Pau Racecourse down in the south of France last time out, and beat number 2, Hadi de Carrère, on that occasion. Hadi de Carrère was 5th on that occasion. Number 3 is Harab, ran in Dubai last time, finished 4th at Meydan, and then last year's runner-up, Mutawakkel Al-Khaladia, number 4 on the race card, 2nd last year. We move on to one of the oldest horses, Nadar Al-Khaladia, number 5 on the card. He's a 10-year-old. 6 is Prince Amer, who has a fair bit to find, even though he won the Al Diriyah Cup here last month. 7, Rassi, aged 11, is the oldest horse in the race. Rich Like Me has been carrying all before him, dominating fields in Meydan this spring. Can he do so again here? 9, Sea Line comes from Qatar. He's never, incredibly, been out of the first 4 in 23 starts. Ronan Thomas was in fine form yesterday, winning 2 races on the card. 10, Shiris is an outsider, won in Oman back in November. 11, Zalej El Sham has been a revelation since switching to dirt from turf. Very interesting one to watch out for. 12, Shihaha Aldam, won here over 7 furlongs in December. 13 is Nabil El Khaladia, finished in the top 3 in all of his 9 starts so far, and arguably the most interesting one in the whole race, number 14, Tilal El Khaladia, a rapid improver, won a Group 1 Prince Sultan World Cup last month. He wandered a bit late there. The question with him is, does he stay the 2,000-meter trip? We'll find out very shortly.
You got it.
Thanks so much, John. Horses behind the gate right now. Again, joined by Jonathan Horowitz. Jonathan, the Arabian Classic here. Is this a wide open affair, or is this a wide open affair?
It very much is. It's the richest Arabian horse race in the world. It's attracted the best Arabian horses from around the world. You have a strong local contingent, and you have a strong foreign contingent, like the horse that just went by on screen, RB Rich Like Me, now 2 for 2 in the UAE, a champion in the USA, and Derrien, who was right behind him, 5th in this race last year, and then broke the track record in the Dubai Kahela Classic, another $1 million Arabian race.
So you're telling me that my pick of RB Rich Like Me is a good one?
It's a good one for us. It's the American horse. He did very well in America, but he's kicked it to another gear in the UAE under trainer Fawzi Nas. And that's the case with the Arabians. They mature sometimes a little bit older. RB Rich Like Me is now 6 years old. The one thing about him, he just cruises. In this breed, it's an endurance breed. It's very much based on the durability of the breed. It's influenced the thoroughbreds and other modern breeds as well. And the jockey Audrey DeVries, he works with this horse in the morning, and he just lets RB Rich Like Me do his thing. And when Rich does his thing, it's beautiful to watch.
Now, is he going to be doing his thing on the front end is my question tonight.
If all goes to plan, he will. And he's never gone this far, 2,000 meters, 1.25 miles. He's a graded stakes winner at 6 furlongs, 1,200 meters. So to think that he can now stretch out to 1.25 miles, 2,000 meters, that's not unheard of for the Arabians. But this track, I think, really sets up well for him to cruise. This is the one race all weekend where they utilize that long shoot at the 2,000 meter start. They almost run about half the race before they go to the end of the backstretch. So it sets up 2 possible scenarios. On one hand, there's no rush to go to the lead because you have a lot of time to settle in. But for this Arabian breed, you can kind of push forward, and it's almost like a diesel engine. They can go and just see what the others can do in behind. And so I think this long backstretch could suit well if RB Rich Like Me can get into a rhythm. And if anyone's going to get him into a rhythm, it's his jockey Audrey.
What about the undefeated local horse, Tilal Al Khaladia, the 14?
He's a 4-year-old. Arabians can't start racing until they're 3. So he's taking on the big boys here. He won 2 stakes races in a span of 11 days. And if he steps up, he's the future star of the sport in this country.
John Hunt with the call.
Michel, thank you. We're just about good to go here for the Opaya Arabian Classic. And they're very awkward out of the gates was number 6, Prince Amer. That one lost quite a few lengths out of the gates there, and rushed along as well is Rassi, number 7, towards the wide outside. On the outside, she shows good speed, racing in company with Nadir Al Khaladia with that white cap, and now Gray, RB Rich Like Me, comes forward as well. In Meydan. He's been completely dominating his fields. Looks like he's just easing to the front at the end of the first quarter of a mile. They come onto the main track now. Just in behind these leaders races Mutawakil Al-Khalaidia, who's up on the wide outside. He's racing in company with Rasi, who's still widest of all. Buried away mid-track, the likes of Sea Lion and Tilal Al-Khalaidia, number 14, moving pretty well. He's round about 5th or 6th at the moment, with Zalej Al-Cham for company, and the leader there just shied away. That was RB Rich Like Me, just took a dart out to the right there. Don't know whether that put off Sea Lion or not, but Sea Lion's now come under pretty heavy pressure. Our new back marker is number 12, Shihana Al-Daham. Driven along now is Harab. That one's absolutely flat out, and after that tardy start, Prince Aimer is still one of the back markers, so they make the turn out of the back straight. RB Rich Like Me comes to the lead here. Shiris under heavy pressure to try and go with him. Likewise Nadir Al-Khalaidia, and also on the wide outside Mutawakil Al-Khalaidia. They're 3 and 4. I do like the way Derian's improved for France on their heels. That's the green and red checks into 4th place. Heidi de la Carrère has also improved very nicely as well. White and blue colours, and this field now getting well and truly thinned out. Not much coming from Nabil Al-Khalaidia, but up front RB Rich Like Me with Talal Al-Khalaidia almost upsides. We'll see if the youngster Talal Al-Khalaidia truly gets the trip here and now. Hadi de Carrère's back in 3rd place, and then in behind those Derian back in 4th place. It is Tilal Al-Khalaidia out in front. Hadi de Carrère coming strongly down the middle of the track. RB Rich Like Me on the rail. It's Tilal Al-Khalaidia being joined by Hadi de Carrère on the near side. Tilal Al-Khalaidia joined right on the line by Hadi de Carrère, and it is the first photo finish of the night. 2 and 14 have gone past together, with RB Rich Like Me just in behind them in 3rd place. Derian came next, and then Zalej Al-Cham was never ever nearer. Harab has toiled home pretty disappointingly. Smile on the face from Olivier Pellier suggests he thinks he's got their side. He may well have done. Number 2, Hadi de Carrère, from that evidence, looks to have been Tilal Al-Khalaidia, but it's close. We leave it as ever to the judge. RB Rich Like Me was 3rd. Look at the gap to Derian back in 4th place, the Pau winner. He's a really, really good horse from France, but it could be that another one from France has just won his prize. Hadi de Carrère has been confirmed as the winner in a rousing finish there, and Tilal Al-Khalaidia just loses out by a nostril, and the wizardry of Olivier Pellier there for all to see, getting that horse home. Absolutely fantastic spectacle. Really, really good ride on the outside. Obviously things, if you're watching yesterday, didn't go well with King Shala, but Faisal, Olivier, absolutely thrilled to bits with that.
Congratulations, Olivier Pellier. What a great ride, my friend.
Shukran. Long time. You know, it's a very important win today in Saudi, because I come here for very, very long time, like more 20 years. Like for first time, I see the old track, and today win last time on the turf, now on the dirt. Ride the best Arabian horses, a lot of success, and today is very amazing because line is good pedigree, everything is fine. The owner is wonderful, have a lot of success. So this is a very good horse.
MashaAllah. Take us through the race, Olivier.
I know him.
I know like the last 200, actually, everybody, you know the Talal, he's in front, he's gonna win the race.
Yeah, but
tough horse.
He's a very tough horse, but the people, you know, I'm finished second yesterday, second, and one win. Everybody forget the second, but the winner, more important, is the winning post. Today is really good. Very happy for all the team. This is great. I'm very happy. So happy.
Very great.
Okay.
Congratulations again.
Yeah.
And see you in another race. Win again, inshallah.
Yeah, now it's finished, but maybe for next year we have some more horses. I come here, the people take care of me and take care of him.
Okay, thank you. Okay, this is what Olivier Pellier saying after the race, and we back to the studio.
Hadi Dakar already a multiple Grade 1 winner and going to be taking this big pot here, Jonathan. What an exciting finish from two lightly raced horses.
It could very well be the finish of the night, and a tremendous training performance by Thomas Forsey. This was the leading juvenile in France in 2020, a two-time Group 1 winner on turf. Only one start in 2021, and there is Thomas Forsey and the jubilation that he has. One start, a prep, a fifth place finish at Pau in January, and he brought it today. And after the race, you can see Olivier Pellier, he's breathing hard. He really had to work for that to run down the local star Talal Al-Khalidiyah.
I'll tell you what I liked about it. If you watched Olivier in that slow-mo replay, he kind of threw the horse's reins away at him, and at no point did he ever pop that horse back in the mouth. Sometimes you'll see riders and they have their reins a little short, and so when they're pushing and they come back, it hits the horse in the mouth, which slows them down. He really helped that horse win.
In this type of race with such a long run down the backstretch, a sweeping turn, you want to let the horses get into a rhythm, and he set Hadi Dakar up in the perfect spot, gave him something to run at into Talal Al-Khalidiyah, who maybe moved a little bit too early, and Hadi just motored home and found the finish line in time. Smart horse, smart jockey, you can't beat that combination.
What does that mean for the upside for Talal Al-Khalidiyah? Because he's only a 4-year-old, like you mentioned. You can't race until you're 3. He's facing all these older horses, and he really was game.
I mean, imagine right now in thoroughbred racing, if you had a 3-year-old, instead of running in a Derby prep, go and say the Santa Anita Handicap.
Right.
And he's taking on the older horses. And with this type of breeding as well that they emphasize in Saudi Arabia, it sometimes takes a little bit longer to mature. So you definitely don't close the door on Talal Al-Khalidiyah. If anything, you get excited about what the future holds for him.
Looking back on RB, Rich, like me, tried to set the pace all the way around there. Maybe this is too far for him, or you think just unlucky tonight?
I think that he ran into the best horse from Saudi Arabia, the best horse from Europe. He was the best dirt horse coming in from the United States. So you put all three together and see how the chips fall. It's still a very valiant effort for him. And I imagine that he'll go back to Dubai, where he's based, and be a contender in the Kahela Classic. It's a tough race. And the third is actually a solid performance for him. I imagine his connections will still be very happy about it.
Speaking of happy connections, there's a look at Olivier Pellier giving a big, long, extended hug to the connections of Hadi Dakar. This horse never even stepped foot on dirt before. Were you expecting going into this a performance like that?
It's in the back of your mind because of how good he was. But with the Arabians, you can have horses do just as well on turf and on dirt. It doesn't matter the distance. They run often. They run later in their careers. They're special to watch.
Tom Stanley standing by.
Yeah, Thomas Forsey is with me, and Liz Price is going to help, because I'm not sure what's worse, your English or probably my French, I would say. Many congratulations. What did you expect from this horse today?
Alors, félicitations. Qu'est-ce que vous pensez qu'il allait faire aujourd'hui?
Pour moi, c'est un très bon cheval qui a fait voir à 3 ans beaucoup de dureté dans des terrains très lourds. Et aujourd'hui, c'est un cheval qui a quand même beaucoup de physique et tout. Et dans ces pistes-là, je pensais qu'il allait bien se comporter. Maintenant, il avait pas couru l'année dernière, donc ça pouvait être un os de venir et de courir là. Mais c'est vraiment un cheval de très grande qualité dans des terrains profonds.
I thought he was a very good horse. When he was 3 years old, he showed a lot of toughness when he was running as a 3-year-old, but he hadn't had a run. I thought he was going to win, to run well, but he did it really well today.
I have to wrap up now, but I just want to know, Kahela Classic, Dubai, yes?
Yes.
Yes, definitely. Well done. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tom, and the connections there. Jonathan, you were right on this horse's next target.
And the winner of the $1 million race yesterday, first class, he's going to the Kahela Classic. So the $2 million Arabian winners this weekend will meet up in Dubai in 1 month.
I know where you get to go next.
I'm hoping to go to the Kahela Classic too. I'm just following these horses around. It's truly a pleasure.
Well, we appreciate it. It was a pleasure having you on board with us here, helping us out through the Arabian races, and we will hopefully watch for you in Dubai.
Sounds good. We'll see you there. I'll book my plane ticket.
Just put it on your card, not mine. All right, Jonathan Horowitz joining us from the Arabian Jockey Club. We're going to take a quick pause.
Jonathan Horowitz there, the Arabian racing expert, and I, for one, was very glad of his assistance, Michelle.
Yes, I mean, I thought I felt really smart for a second with RB Rich like me, and then it just all fell apart.
All right, that was the Abaya Arabian Classic, which has set us up nicely, as Tom Stanley told you, for the Kahala Classic a month from now in the United Arab Emirates. Thoroughbreds back after this. You're warmly welcome back as we build towards the world's most valuable horse race. We're just under 2 hours away from the Saudi Cup, and there's a true international star, decorated French rider Olivier Pellier. He's just won the big purebred Arabian race here today, the Abaya Arabian Classic, and he's being presented with his trophy by the Vice President of Lexus, Raad Esmat Al Sadi, and the General Manager of Wholesale, Mohamed Al Angri, both up there on the presentation podium with the highly decorated Olivier Pellier. As John Hunt said in the call, it didn't work out for him yesterday. It worked out okay today. Trainer Thomas Forsi, he's been a real force, if you'll pardon the pun, not only training thoroughbreds, but particularly purebred Arabians. He's won the Amir's Sword in Qatar on a number of occasions, and now he comes to the Kingdom and strikes in the biggest race of all. So on the main track here at King Abdulaziz from now on in, but we had 3 terrific turf races to kick off the day. And if you've just joined us, wherever you are in the world, you will have an interest here because they were truly international races, but one nation emerged victorious throughout.
Authority's just too good, and Japan start the night in wonderful style. Songline in the middle of the 3 goes to the line. Songline for Japan again. This is a dream night for the land of the rising sun and the setting sun here of Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. Matt Banier alongside me. All those turf races going to Japanese trained horses. Authority, Songline, Stay Foolish, all ridden by Christophe Lemaire, multiple Japanese champion, winner of the Japan Cup, 42 years old. He looks absolutely at the peak of his powers today, Matt.
And one of the most intriguing things about the Japanese contingent, these upcoming 3 dirt races, they're well represented. They've got a big chance coming up in the dirt sprint. They've got a big chance. They've got 2 horses coming up in the Saudi Derby, which is our next race. And then obviously in the big one, they've got the combination of T.O. Keynes and Marsh Lorraine, a Distaff winner and a Champions Cup winner. So the Japanese are having themselves quite an evening already.
They're having themselves quite an evening. Do you reckon Rosie Tapner's having quite an evening?
Knowing Rosie, I would think so.
All right, well, let's find out.
Well, we've had a great time so far, and I'm down here in the Alabia enclosure. Just behind me is the fashion exhibition, and the expert here, Hatem, you're with us. Can you tell us a little bit about your role with the 100 Brands and explain what the 100 Brands is?
Well, my role is actually more with the Saudi Cup. What we're doing is we're fashionizing the Saudi Cup and bringing in 100 brands from Ministry of Culture to make sure that we create the content to promote the 100 brands. The whole idea of the 100 Brands is to create this community of fashion designers and highlight all the people who have kind of made their mark fashion-wise, and also the ones that maybe we haven't really heard of. So there's many hidden gems and many shimmering gems that we can see at the MOC 100 Brand exhibition. Yeah.
There are some really stunning pieces in there. It's amazing to see what the designers have come up with. How much does it mean to the designers to have their clothes here at the Saudi Cup?
I mean, the Saudi Cup now has literally become the ultimate platform for Saudi heritage globally. I mean, it's become the platform for that. Ever since Her Royal Highness Princess Noor Al Faisal, Prince Bandar Al Faisal started bringing in lifestyle and fashion to the Saudi Cup, it created incredible buzz. Believe it or not, this is only the third year. And look at the buzz and the enthusiasm that people have. It's really incredible to see heritage celebrated in such a great way. And the day of the establishment, which was actually a few days ago, it only adds to the excitement and how people are, even kids now, are going back to celebrating their heritage. So it's very exciting, really.
Well, what a fantastic initiative. And for those brands that may not be as well known, to be able to showcase their work here at the Saudi Cup must be so special.
Rosie rocking it in the style stakes. No real surprise there. It would be marginally more of a surprise, perhaps, if Mandaloun, for all he's very well fancied, wins the Saudi Cup. He runs in the colours of Juddmonte Farms, the empire created by the late Prince Khalid Abdullah, a Saudi national himself. As you heard from Florent Geroux earlier, he is now the winner by default for how long of the Kentucky Derby. He provided a first victory in that race, albeit belatedly, for trainer Brad Cox, who's been talking to us about the task at hand.
I've had Mandaloun since the summer of his 2-year-old season. He came in, Garrett O'Rourke sent him in, and actually sent him in with a couple other colts and made the comment where, we're hoping one of these is a Derby horse. He's a pretty cool horse. He's pretty easy to manage. Now, he has his times where he feels really good. He'll rear up here or there, but I think he's just, it's just out of feeling good. But overall, he's, his attitude's really good. He's straightforward. He trains well. He likes to train. He's a good workhorse. There's nothing tough about him at all. I thought his race here in January was, going to tell us if that's something we wanted to pursue, and he actually passed the test with flying colors, even better than expected. So, Garrett runs the Juddmonte farm here in the U.S. I made the comment right after the Kentucky Derby, we would like to turn our attention toward the Saudi Cup, and here we are. It's not often that you can set a plan with a horse, say 9-10 months in advance and execute it, but we have a little ways to go. We have a few weeks out. I don't want to say too much, but everything's went extremely well since the Kentucky Derby. For me, to have a chance to train for such a prestigious operation is, it's a dream come true. When the richest race in the world on their own soil would be very special to the family. So, hopefully if everything goes well, that's something we'll experience. I've heard nothing but good things about the racetrack itself, the surface, and how horses come out of it. It's a one-turn mile and an eighth, which is a race. I like the idea of it. It gives horses I think you get around 5/8 of a mile to kind of get your placing. Our horse has tactical speed. I think he'll break, he'll be involved. So I like the idea of the one-turn mile and an eighth with Mandaloun. I think it's something that he'll like, he'll enjoy, and we'll see. I think it's going to be a good group. Anytime you put up $20 million, you're going to get some competition, and that's exactly what's going to happen. You're going to have your running shoes on, for sure.
Mandaloun, the latest in a long line of such talented horses to sport the silks of Juddmonte Farms, and the legacy will continue. The great race mare Enable, the Arc winner, the Breeders' Cup heroine, gave birth earlier this week to her first foal by the brilliant miler Kingman. Both of those aforementioned horses themselves bred by Prince Juddmonte Farms. This, the purest distillation of talent from that great dynasty. And even if this horse cannot run up to his pedigree, he has a stallion's pedigree already, so he's worth a king's ransom. There's your R moment.
That's a great name
good
for
R
him.
moment as well.
Oh, he was so cute. The first picture, I think he was born February 11th, if I'm not mistaken. The first picture that came out, and he's nuzzling Enable, and they both have those little blazes. I was like, oh, he looks just like his mom, but out there it's a little bit bigger. But golly, what a good-looking little baby.
Can I just cut right through this sentiment by showing you the controversial Kentucky Derby from 21, because perhaps this is the biggest clue as to whether the Juddmonte Farm Silks are going to be carried to victory in the Saudi Cup. This is Pink Cap Mandaloun passing the post second behind Medina Spirit. We've done the story, now let's talk about the form and the horses, Matt.
I'll tell you what, at the top of the lane, I thought Mandaloun was about 1-5 to get the job done, and Medina Spirit just dug down deep and repelled the bid from Mandaloun. The concern for Mandaloun throughout his entire career has been just this. He gets very close, and he doesn't quite want to finish the job. Keep in mind, now, he has won 2 Grade 1 races in the United States. Neither time has he crossed the wire first. He has an opportunity tonight to sort of squash some of those fears that perhaps he doesn't want to get the job done entirely. He's a very talented horse. You hope the mind is finally catching up with the body a little bit as a newly turned 4-year-old.
I mean, there's a thing to be said about quirky horses, and sometimes it's just because they're a colt, and sometimes it's because they're just not mature yet. And, you know, the good thing is, like you heard Florent Geroux when he was here earlier said, he's developed mentally, he's developed physically, and I think that we saw in his prep race, there wasn't really necessarily a need to win that, right? It was a prep race. The fact that he actually came in and he had a horse that was in front of him and he caught him and he went by him, I think does show that he is going to go through a little bit of mental maturation.
You've seen a fair bit of him this week on the track. How do you think he's adapting to this place and this what is considered to be a slightly different dirt surface?
But when we saw him a couple days ago, he looked very lively, spry in the morning, looked like he was ready to go and do a little bit more work than he was allowed to. Look, we heard from Flo. The idea is he's a nice sort of handy horse. He can get into a nice position and hopefully make his run. I will say this dirt track, and you had tipped it off initially, it's unlike anything I've seen in the United States.
Or here.
It sounds
you can't hear it.
It sounds like a pillow. It's incredible. The horses just skip over it and you don't hear them go by. I don't know who that plays to the favor of as far as any of the American horses are concerned, but I'm expecting Mandaloun to deliver a good performance. Whether or not it's good enough to win, we'll find out.
I will say, when he was schooling in the gate this week, we had watched a little bit of video earlier of Brad Cox putting him in the gate. Some horses, especially when they're green or a little mature, will fiddle around in the gate. They don't want to focus on what they do. He got in the gate. He bird dogged. So where the gate kind of meets itself, he put his nose right square where it's supposed to be and stared down the track like, if you open this, I'm going. I mean, that's something that, you know, a more mature horse or a big racehorse is going to do. Okay. I loved seeing that from him.
And I suppose the beauty of all these American horses, to a greater or lesser extent, is they're still about potential. Certainly Mandaloun and Midnight Bourbon. I know Midnight Bourbon hasn't won for ages, but the two are so closely matched. Their careers kind of bob and weave and intertwine with each other, and this is their respective preps. Rolling along on the front end, Midnight Bourbon, and Mandaloun chases him down.
The dynamics of this race played greatly to the favor of Midnight Bourbon, and Mandaloun was still able to overcome that and get the job done. This was his first start since the Haskell last summer at Monmouth Park. All things considered, it was a really strong effort, a nice comeback performance. My concern and my question, Michelle, is these two horses just bang heads left and right every time they show up on the racetrack. How does this compare to the horses they're going to take on here tonight?
I mean, the good news is they're way in front of every other horse that they've been there, right? The bad news for me is I think they're both very similar horses in that, and say that they don't want to go by. They like to hang out by their buddies. Sometimes we see horses that are just blow away winners and they like feel good when they pass other horses. These horses haven't seemed to let that click in their mind yet. And it's not that they have a lack of talent or a lack of guts. It's just something that I think that they have to almost learn. And a horse like Midnight Bourbon especially, I feel like, has some tactical speed. Obviously, he's been on the lead, he's been on the front end, but he doesn't have a second speed, right? He doesn't have that extra kick or the punch that you see. And sometimes that's because he's on the front end. But there are horses that can go on the front end and still kick away, and he's just not that horse.
Country Grammar's an older horse. So what I want to know from you guys is, are we still buying into the idea that last year's crop of American 3-year-olds was a stellar crop? And if so, how can Country Grammar beat Mandaloun and Midnight Bourbon?
I don't know if it's stellar. Maybe in the heat of the moment during the Triple Crown season, we thought they were all going to be. It was competitive. They've all turned into very good racehorses, don't get me wrong. And any one of them can get the job done tonight. Country Grammar, though, is a quality older horse. And to sleep on him, I think, would be a major, major mistake.
Here's a look at him in the Hollywood Gold Cup, which was his last race, and it was back in May of 2021. And I thought this was an excellent race for him. He's actually coming up along the inside. On the outside is a horse by the name of Royal Ship, who actually bested him the time before that. And Royal Ship was a champion in South America, but they brought him up here. They ran him on the turf a bunch. Once they switched him to dirt, it was a different thing. This is a very hard thing to do. Royal Ship had passed Country Grammar. Country Grammar is coming back on the inside, which is the place of intimidation. He looked so game in that win.
The other thing I'll say about Country Grammar, yes, he's been gone for a long time. We haven't seen him since Memorial Day last year in the United States. If this turns into a stamina test, which we have seen with this long stretch, a one-turn mile and an eighth, if he can stay within shouting distance, ideal distance for Midnight Bourbon. Maybe they want to go slightly shorter. Maybe they want to go slightly shorter than this distance.
See, what I like about tonight's race is we're actually going to find out a bit more about horses that people might think they know plenty about already. What about Art Collector then, Michelle? He's a horse who's come up the Breeders' Cups. He's now with his third trainer, Bill Mott. Bill's been here a couple of times before with Tacitus. Good enough?
One thing that Art Collector doesn't come up short in is his W column when we're talking about the 1,800 meters or the 9 furlongs. I love the fact that this horse absolutely relishes the distance, and he's done it going 1 turn, he's done it going 2 turns, and he's done it going 3 turns. He won a grade 1 going the 9 furlong. Now, the drawback is he's probably not beating the best of horses, and he didn't have a very good run in the Breeders' Cup Classic, although he did have a little foot issue. But I think that he's been training here fantastically. I think he's got speed, and we know he loves this distance. There's a lot of weapons in his arsenal. If he can step up still to be on par with some of these other horses.
Stating the obvious, the key to tonight's race is the pace. How fast and how hard are they going to go early? Because Art Collector will be part of that early pace situation. If they go too fast, it's going to take the starch out of heat. Midnight Bourbon, we'll talk about Secret Ambition in a little bit, and then perhaps set things up for a Mandaloun and Mishriff or somebody else. If for whatever reason it's on the more moderate side, to Michelle's point, this is a horse that's very versatile. He's shown that he can handle any racetrack in any condition. He becomes a little bit more intriguing. I'm just more concerned than anything about the pace scenario.
Now, when you say moderate, though, I think this horse can still put up a very quick tempo as long as he's doing it without too much pressure.
I would agree with that. He's a naturally talented racehorse. There's no denying that. He was one of the favorites in the Preakness last year. He was a really, really nice racehorse. The concern, or I should say 2 years ago, the concern again becomes, let's say he does use that good early speed and he can somehow clear the field. How fast is he going early on? And again, can you repel a charge from Midnight Bourbon? Can you repel a charge from Mandaloun? Then Mishriff. And then if you do all that, you got to hold off the deep closers.
So our star ratings make Mandaloun the best of the Americans, just in front of Midnight Bourbon, but Mishriff's got 5 stars as well, and Tio Kane's the Japanese runner. Well, hang on, the way the night's
I know,
going.
he should have 5 stars automatically just from what country he hails from.
We're going to talk a little bit more about Tio Kane's and the other Japanese contender, Marsh Lorraine, in a little while, but that's the Saudi Cup, due off at 8:35 local time, and that's 35 minutes past midday US Eastern Time. We've talked about 4 plucky Americans. Here's 2 plucky Brits, Tapner and Tom.
Well, I've come out to find Rosie Tapner. I've got to be honest, you're not an easy person to find. It's busy here. How's your day been?
It's really busy here. It's been amazing. It's my first time ever here in Saudi, and I was saying to you earlier, we haven't had time to go out and experience Saudi in itself, but it's so nice that they've actually feel like we've brought Saudi into the racecourse, and I'm experiencing all the culture and the heritage, and I feel like I've learned a lot of history about it all as well, so it's been amazing.
From the race days you've experienced at Royal Ascot, for example, which would be the traditional British huge race day. How does this compare? Are there any comparisons you can draw?
Do you know what? My biggest comparison is the fashion. So, Royal Ascot, we all take months to get our outfits together. And I've been chatting to a lot of the women in particular who said it's taken them months and months to get their outfits together. They've really thought about it. It's sort of their big Royal Ascot. It's their royal. So it's really lovely to experience that. And I've been dressed in traditional dress all day. And so many people have loved it. And it's been great.
Has this been the regular sort of thing that's been going? I've never been back here, but has this been what the locals have been enjoying here? Lots of performances on the stage?
Yeah, you've missed out, I have to say. This has gone on after every single race. So in between every race, we've had a new act, singers, dancers, and this is going to carry on well into the night. So after racing finishes, we need to get a bit of a boogie going on.
We are. With that, Rosie, you can dance us into the break.
Tom, I think you should join us too.
Take a pause.
Tom, Rosie, having far too much fun out there here at King Abdulaziz Racecourse. And night has now definitively fallen. And we've got 3 terrific races to enjoy. And it'll be the big race for the classic generation. Up next, the Saudi Derby. Let's head out and about in Riyadh. Welcome back. Grandstand filling up here at King Abdulaziz Racetrack, just outside Riyadh in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. We are less than 2 hours away from the feature race, the Saudi Cup. We've got a wonderful prelude for you in the shape of the Saudi Derby if you prefer, depending on where you think this is leading you. It's worth $1.5 million. There's only one way of slicing that. And John Hunt, the man who's going to call it home, has the runners and riders for you.
Really interesting race, thank you very much indeed, Nick. Number 1 here is Kaifa, who was second in the UAE Guineas. 2 is Perfect Love, and 3 is Al Muthana, who won a qualifier for this, giving the locals a little bit of hope. Number 4, Al Nada, carries the Mishrif colours. Prince Faisal owns this. The maroon, we'll see it shortly. 4 from 4, Al Nada, the highest rated Saudi-bred horse running here at this meeting. 5, the first of the 2 Japanese runners in the race, Consigliere, with Christophe Lemaire bidding for an incredible 4th winner on the night. 6 is I Am Magic, this horse formerly trained in Ireland, won on his debut here. 7 is Island Falcon, with Christophe Soumillon riding, a Meydan winner last time out. 8 is Noble Truth. Very interesting that Frankie Dettori has gone to post very quietly on him. He's looking more like a dressage horse, Noble Truth. Quite a few flying changes on the way to post, but he looks okay. Bob Baffert's runner, number 9, Pinehurst. Flavien Prat rides. Another for Japan is next, number 10. That is Sekifu. 11 is Sovereign Prince, a dirt debut tonight. He won a listed race in Meydan. 12 is the Wizard of Eye. Full owners and trainer Stan Moore here representing Great Britain, and this horse was 5th in the prestigious Jean-Luc Lagardère in Paris last October. 13 is Jacinda. That's ridden by Florent Giroux for Jérôme Régnier, who's had a stellar year in France. And number 14 is Oscula, who had a tremendous level of form last year, was 3rd in the prestigious Prix Marcel Boussac in Paris last back end. But not every one of the team here impressed with the way she worked the other day. She looked pretty tired come the end of her work. Let's see if she can bounce back. A fascinating Saudi Derby up next.
It is. You set that up intriguingly, John. It's another multi-continental challenge, and not a massive surprise given the way the racing's gone tonight that the first 2 editions of this race have gone to, yep, you guessed it, Japan. But just keep your eye out for quite a well-known horse finishing 2nd in the first of them.
Fall Flat, who leads by 2 lengths. Misdrift continues to stay on stoutly for a place. It's Fall Flat for Hideki Mori and Japan with Yutaka Take in the saddle.
Pink Kamehameha, 50 meters to go. Cowan is finishing fast. Pink Kamehameha, Cowan, here's the wire. Pink Kamehameha.
It's an interesting race. As I said, John Hunt set this up beautifully, really, Matt. But what he did was serve to underline how hard it is to try and figure out what's going to win and how it's even going to be run. Horses with vastly differing form lines from all sorts of different places.
I think you have to start with the American horse in this race, in Pinehurst, because we know American speed typically is king and queen on dirt. My concern, and Michelle can speak to this, based out in Southern California, I'm not convinced that Pinehurst is really going to appreciate this mile distance. He's gotten short in some of his other races in the past. I think he's a nice horse. I just think he wants to go shorter, and if he takes any kind of pressure early, I think he's in trouble, Michelle.
I have to ditto every sentiment you just laid out right there. I mean, I think it's good. He's trying the 1-turn mile here, obviously, but I think this long stretch might just get to them. Bob Baffert, we know, has his horses ready, and they generally don't get tired, but sometimes they have distance limitations, and, you know, he might be one of those horses that has this. I actually wouldn't mind to see him on turf at some point, too. He's by Twirlin Candy out of a Giants Causeway mare. Really, that's a grassy pedigree. That could be a whole new thing for him if he was able to get a surface change. Nick, talking about earlier Oscula, when John was tired this week, it wasn't the fact that she got tired. We talked to George Bowie after. She's just lazy. She doesn't like to do work unless she's with someone else.
I get that. I understand that. I can identify with that. All power to Oscula. There's Consigliere looking for a... is the fact that George Bowie, ambitious, young, hungry, really good trainer in Great Britain, has gone for Luis Saez. Go on, get me out there. American dirt rider, sender. Busy 2-year-old, tough as nails.
Not just an American dirt rider, I would say arguably the best gate rider that we have.
Exactly.
Really?
I believe so.
That's a bold statement, Matt.
There's Oscula, who's been blindfolded for Stalls entry.
I bet you he's never been on a horse with a blinder like that, though.
Hey, let's hear from the trainer. He's with Tom.
Yeah, I was putting it to George that it's not all just thrown together, is it? You gate schooled her earlier on in the week, you've booked an American jockey, you've thought long and hard about this.
We've tried to, yeah. Louis rode for us at the Breeders' Cup and did a great job on Cachet in the juvenile turf, and look, hopefully he can do equally well tonight.
What did you make of the run at breakfast at the track? It was more of a run, I thought, than most of the horses we saw had.
Yeah, she's quite lazy. She obviously took a lot of racing last year, and you know, I say lazy in her training. She needs enough work to keep her back down, and but yeah, look, she's come over here and ready to go. So fingers crossed.
Cheers, George. Good luck.
Thanks.
George Bowie there. Let's have a look at 11. Charlie Appleby, Sovereign Prince for Godolphin.
Coming in with 3 straight victories here, and could be a nice dirt pedigree. Baidu Bowie, who I feel like is very versatile. And on the bottom side, you have Bernardini. This horse, who's run well on synthetic before, could be the horse to play.
I got to throw one other horse out there.
No, Kiefer. You're not allowed.
Kiefer from the UAE. Couple of losses in the past 2 races, but dynamics have worked against this one. I think if you can get out into the clear, no bargain because you're down to the inside from the break, I think this horse has a big chance in here.
Oh, you know, Tom hated the draw. I told him I would say that if you talked about this horse. He didn't like the draw. And this horse is a Southern Hemisphere horse, so he's technically 4 years old. Sometimes that could be a big deal, but looking at him from a physical standpoint, he is not a big, imposing specimen at all. He's actually rather feminine looking, so I don't think he has as big an advantage as you would think from a physical standpoint.
So the top 2 horses bred in Brazil and Argentina respectively. Southern Hemisphere means the breeding season is therefore 6 months later. As such, 6 months older, so they have to concede a weight allowance to the Northern Hemisphere horses, and it's a lot as well.
10 pounds.
Yeah, that's a lot.
We talk a little bit about the pace situation. Noble Truth is a free-running type early. Perhaps he's involved also.
Saudi Derby of 2022. Here's John.
Set now, 1,600 metres here for the Saudi Derby. And away they go. Oscula jumped fair enough. Slowest away was Kiefer, and also a bit slow to get going was Island Falcon up on the wide outside of the field. But 3 early pacemakers. They include the black jacket of I Am Magic, who is now being joined by Consigliere, and that man Lemaire trying to get close to the front as well. But Pinehurst for the States has just come through at the end of the first quarter mile to lead the field. Jacinda eases back into 4th place. Then the red cap of Godolphin, carried by Sovereign Prince, just moving a little bit closer now. Noble Truth's in mid-division. The pace looks hot here. Oscula already hard under the pump. Getting plenty of kickback there. The Wizard of Eye racing towards the inside. Mishriff's colours carried here by Al Nada on the wide outside, and is breezing nicely into contention as well, and has moved ahead of Al Mutana, who heads the rest. Sekifu's got a awful lot of work to do, and they look like 2 separate races here with these pacemakers led by Pinehurst bursting clear. So Pinehurst, I Am Magic, Consigliere and Sovereign Prince up on the outside. Al Nada's into 5th place, and then comes the Wizard of Eye, who is still staying on. Kiefer comes next. We'll watch for those closes. If they've gone too hard, they may play a part. Closing stages then, straining for home. Pinehurst on the inside rail here has all sorts of challenges. Consigliere in the middle, on the outside Sovereign Prince. Then we've got Al Nada still staying on. Sekifu staying on strongly as well. Pinehurst so gutsy, just out in front. 100 metres left to last home. Sekifu is the one finishing very hard on the outside. Pinehurst with Sekifu a neck away. Pinehurst lasted home to win it for the United States and Bob Baffert. Sekifu was second. In 3rd place there was Consigliere. So a 2-3 there for the Japanese horses this time around. And they were followed home. A terrific run by Al Nada on the wide outside of them. They were followed further back by Sovereign Prince. The Wizard of Eye ran an absolute stormer just in behind them. He got loads of kickback on his way round. Also well beaten in behind them was Island Falcon. Noble Truth never really showed. They're the front 5. Pinehurst in front there from Sekifu, Consigliere, Al Nada, and then Sovereign Prince. A gap then to Kiefer, who was 5 lengths further back. The Wizard of Eye has just held Island Falcon for the next positions, and the rest coming home at wide intervals. Pinehurst then, Bob Baffert and Flavien Prat, has really proved to be so courageous and gutsy. Interesting future ahead. Sekifu's rider not quite getting there this time, Christian Dumuro, but he finished very hard up on the outside, and Consigliere was there throughout. There he is, our winner, Pinehurst. What a fantastically brave display that was by him. A really super win. So we've had 3 wins tonight so far for Japan. We've had 1 for France, and now the United States, they strike here with Pinehurst.
Tough as old boots, this young racehorse. Limited on experience, but certainly unlimited in toughness. Wow. That was some performance from Flavien Prat's Mount Pinehurst. For Bob Baffert, we wondered, didn't we, just how good he was, just whether he had enough in his armory to win a race like this, and I think the answer was pretty conclusive.
I think what it really came down to was just Bob Baffert and his conditioning. He gets horses so ready to go. You can see that horse wasn't extending anymore. He wasn't kicking into another gear and the other horses were catching him, but he had built up an early advantage. He went very easy early on, and Baffert had him ready to go to finish.
Yeah, a lot of the credit out here, the preparation of this horse, goes to Baffert's longtime assistant Jimmy Barnes, who's been looking after this horse, and Country Grammar seen being congratulated there by Prince Bandar.
And look, this is the best horse, or the best race this horse has ever run before. And you had some stiff competition in here. We saw the Japanese come run 2-3, and this looked like they were almost going to get the job done from well off the pace on the far outside with Kifu, but Pinehurst kept finding. Look, I was dubious about his ability to get the distance. I still don't know that I think he's going to be a classic type, but he can be very, very useful. Also worth noting, he was out there on the pace, and I think that is the biggest thing for this horse at this point in his career. You just got to be involved from jump.
I mean, it would be sensible, given all the circumstances we've discussed, to make hay while the sun shines. I wonder if the UAE Derby might be next on the agenda. Flavien Prat, who has been riding Grade 1 winner after Grade 1 winner, has another valuable prize here, and he's alongside Tom.
Yeah, another valuable prize for you, Flavien. Well done. That went exactly to plan, I take it.
Thank you. Yeah, the horse broke well, and he got me into the race. I was cruising all the way around. And yeah, when it was time to make a move, he responded really well.
How worried were you about getting the lead or not?
It was not really about getting the lead, but just to get a clean break and be in a race, and that was the case today, so it was good.
And he was tough late, right? He just kept fighting.
Yeah, absolutely. He was actually kind of waiting on horses, and every time a horse came with him, he digged in.
Well done, Flavien.
Thank you very much.
Flavien Prat. Michelle?
I mean, Flavien Prat is our leading rider in Southern California. He wins 3, 4, 5 races a day. He has a long-time relationship with Bob Baffert, and he rides his horses with a lot of trust and a lot of faith, and I think he delivers. He's a very strong rider. He's a very smart and sensible rider, and he's an unbelievable finisher, and I think you saw that here. He switched sticks 2 or 3 times down the lane. He does it so effortlessly and so convincingly. I think he really gets a lot out of his mount, and I think this horse probably needed it today. Epic ride, great job. Congratulations to our good friend B Squared.
Be very curious to see where they go next with this horse. You had mentioned the UAE Derby.
To the turf?
Well, to see that, it's entirely possible at a half point. I can't 3 for 4 going 1 turn in his only second place finish. Maybe you look at a race like the Pat Day Mile on the Kentucky Derby undercard. So maybe he is playing the first Saturday in May, but I could see Turn Mile working to his advantage.
Pinehurst it is. Victory for the United States, and I think worth just giving the fairly lamentable showing of the European contenders there, and whether because has performed so creditably on this, we've rather been lulled into a false sense of security that, you know, the dirt plays slightly differently and is just fine for horses who normally do well on turf, whether in fact it's still dirt, and Americans are always going to have an inbuilt advantage.
I mean, maybe not always an inbuilt advantage. You just think that they do because the surface is familiar, but it doesn't mean there's not horses that can't translate their form. I mean, obviously Mishriff is one. We've seen Thunder Snow run really well on the main track. There have been a significant amount of horses that have been able to successfully make the transition. We just don't know.
Right, let's hear from the man who's been supervising the preparation of this horse. Jimmy Barnes is with Tom.
He is indeed, yeah. Jimmy's alongside me. He's just debriefing with Liz Price. Now, Liz was very helpful to us earlier, so I'm not going to be mean to her at all. Liz, you're very kind. Thank you. Hey, Jimmy, well done. What was your expectation with this horse coming here today?
This was our expectations, you know. We came over here with a serious horse, and, you know, he just needed to handle everything well, and he did. He handled the ship over, the paddock, the vanning over for the race, and the gate well, and left the gate running, so couldn't be happier.
Did you know once he hit the front and was in the front in the straight, he'd stay there?
Well, you know, here you never know. You know, it's a closer's track, and luckily he had enough heart and stamina to withhold off the Japanese.
As far as you're concerned, as the assistant trainer, UAE Derby a real possibility?
You know, they're all thinking about it, and the plans were to probably forward that way, as long as everything comes out of the race well.
Jimmy, hey, well done. Good luck later on.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jimmy Barnes, who's been the lieutenant to Bob Baffert for so long. Flavien Prat now seems to have developed this partnership, and these big race mounting his for the taking at the moment.
Flavien Prat has had an excellent last couple of Kentucky Derby win, Kings Plate win. I mean, everything just kind of goes his way. I think part of it is because he is unarguably the best rider in California, and when you are that position, you are allowed to have your pick of mounts, and though, you know, success begets success for him.
There you are. Are you swelling with pride?
Is it like the Olympics? Are they going to sing the national anthem?
Not yet. Maybe later.
Okay.
You'll have to wait. Come on, Mishriff. Right. We'll be right back for 2 more crackers, including the Riyadh Dirt Sprint right after this. So Pinehurst it is that has won the Saudi Derby. And who knows what the future will hold for him. The track is now being extensively prepared ahead of the final 2 races. The Riyadh Dirt Sprint next, presented by Saudia, the national airline of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, then the Saudi Cup itself. And here's a little more about the kingdom. Welcome back. Track being prepared ahead of the next race. We've just witnessed a stirring running of the Saudi Derby, presented by Saudia, which was won by a smart horse in Pinehurst, the Grade 1 Del Mar Futurity winner last September. And we're going to take it from the outset. Yellow and Blue Silks rousted in the early stages by Pratt, 4th from the left of screen. Matt, he was determined. These Baffert horses tend to run one way, generally speaking, and they're very effective at doing it.
Just naturally so fast, and again, especially in the United States, we get to see it time and time again. Speed is your greatest asset on dirt, and this horse has an abundance of it. I like the fact that he kind of came to hand here at this point, though, Michelle. It's not as though he's a runoff speed. Flavien Prat got him out of there, established position, and he's moving very comfortably at this point.
Yeah, he was a little bit off the rail, but you want to be able to save ground eventually. And like you said, Flavien had a little bit of a loose rein on him, so he wasn't asking him along. The horse right to his inside, too, Consigliere, he had a nice, easy way of going for himself as well.
It's probably a marker on this form, isn't it, Matt?
Yeah, it's simply because we have so many horses from so many jurisdictions. They're very lightly raced. It's difficult to kind of make comps. I will say, let's give a shout to the local horse, Al Nader, who loomed up on the outside, put in a very, very admirable performance, all things considered, stepping up considerably in class.
We're riding with Christophe Lemaire here, the hero of the day. He rode Consigliere, and it looked at this point as though Lemaire might be in for the 4-timer.
Yeah, but here you see Flavien Prat sense that horse coming on him, and actually Christophe got the jump on him, but Flavien is just so strong right there, and this horse was already moving with such good momentum. He was able to keep him going, and I think it was, remember I told you he switched crops a couple of different times? That horse was on his wrong lead. He had to switch leads back over, and Flavien got him to do that. And I think that really helped him. And looking at the Japanese horse, he's still on the wrong lead.
And while the Japanese didn't win this race, running 2nd and 3rd on top of 3 victories earlier, they're rolling along right now.
It's massive. Absolutely massive.
If this was a cumulative points race, they would be.
This is interesting. This is past the wire. Look at Hurst gallop out here. Past the wire.
I mean,
perhaps you give him a chance going longer. He's only gone long one time.
The race is over past the wire, so everybody else stood up. I mean, that horse is galloping out, yeah, but I don't know if that necessarily meant that he just wanted to keep going and going and going. Did it?
You don't like that theory. Some people love it.
If I watch the pan view again, how about that? Trophy presentation going on right now for the Saudi Derby. Flavien Prat accepting his trophy from the head of marketing and customer experience group, Mohammed Al Dufafian and Walid Abdullah Al Mukbil. That's Jimmy Barnes, assistant to trainer Bob Baffert. Longtime assistant, has made many trips to the Middle East with the Baffert contingents.
And Bob Baffert will be represented in the Saudi Cup of 2022 by the Amir Zidane-owned Country Grammar. One of 14 that go to post.
Also want to mention Umberto getting a trophy right here, taking over for the owners and subbing in. This is the regular exercise rider of Pinehurst and several other Bob Baffert horses.
So let's take a look at the lineup for this year's Saudi Cup.
California-based Grade 1 winner Country Grammar will return off a roughly 270-day layoff for his first international start for trainer Bob Baffert.
Aerodrome is the first ever South American runner in the Saudi Cup. He could be the finest Uruguayan export since Invasor.
Trainer Steve Asmussen has won more races than anyone else in U.S. history, and he says Midnight Bourbon might be one of the best in the world.
In the 1990s, trainer Saeed bin Sarur and rider Frankie Dettori, who team up with Real World, dominated global racing. The old firm is back in business with a real talent.
Emblem Road could be the best hope for the locals with a sparkling 6-for-8 record, including his last 3. Impeccably bred, he possesses speed and is the horse for course.
Victory for Mandaloun would be a fine tribute to his late owner Khalid Abdullah, the Saudi prince, a towering figure in global racing. This horse was awarded the Kentucky Derby earlier this week.
Magny Corps' lone dirt start was a decent third in the 2021 Dubai World Cup for 31-time champion trainer Andre Fabre. The Godolphin homebred enters off a respectable third in Bahrain in November.
Japanese racing continues on the march, and Teo Keynes is their leading horse on dirt. A physical powerhouse, he obliterated his field in the Chukyo Champions Cup in December.
9 furlongs? No problem. Bill Mott's trainee Art Collector is a Grade 1 winner with a sparkling 5-for-5 record at the 1800 meters and has been showing his zip here in the morning. Well drawn. Expect to see him throughout.
A win for Making Miracles would live up to his name. A strong stayer in England on turf, he's reinvented himself as a quicker horse on the dirt here in Saudi.
French-based Sealaway will be making his dirt debut for his new trainer Francis Graffa. The son of Galloway is versatile on footing and should be making his way late.
Dubai-trained Secret Ambition is the old man of the party at 9, but he's no back number judged on his fluent win in the Godolphin Mile last spring. He's a contender for the early lead.
Japan's Marcia Lorraine shocked at the Breeders' Cup, delivering a devastating late foot to post a massive upset versus her own sex. Immediately pointed to the Saudi Cup for her swan song. Should she best this group of boys, she'll end her career in spectacular form.
And finally, Saudi-owned British-trained the headline act, the standard setter, the hero of a pulsating edition of this race 12 months ago. The widest gate of all is no advantage, but if anyone can, it's Mishrif.
The Japanese have had great luck on this Saudi Cup undercard, and tonight especially, with already 3 wins under the belt. If they're going to take the big race, though, they're going to have to do it with the best dirt horse in Japan, Teo Keynes.
Teo Keynes is the JR Race Dirt Champion in Japan in 2021. He won Champions Cup in December at Chukyo Racecourse. This is a qualifying race for Saudi Cup. He won Champions Cup by 6 lengths. And the second finisher was Chua Wizard, second finisher of Dubai World Cup last year. So Teo Keynes was 6 lengths ahead of the Chua Wizard. I think he is one of the best dirt horse I've ever seen in Japan. Teo Keynes, gained international rating 120. This is, second highest rate, the best dirt horse, bred in Japan and trained in Japan I've ever seen. So since then, the horse has been trained for Saudi Cup. His, final workout before leaving Japan at Rito Training Center was fantastic. And he was, lightly breezed on Tuesday here at Abdulaziz, which is a fan. He's full of energy, looks like a very keen. This is, usual habit in the morning. I think he's in top form.
The point is the way things are going. You're going to say, well, I think Theo Keynes can do it, rather than is Theo Keynes for real off the back of that win in the Champions Cup. Michelle and Matt alongside. Your confidence has got to grow now. It's just a question, I think, given what Nahira Goda was saying there, Michelle, of whether the horse can keep a lid on it.
Yeah, we have heard from his connections that he's a little bit of a rambunctious doer. We saw him earlier this week, and he did get a little hot and bothered, but he calmed down, and he was excellent in the gate. And I really think that a key to a lot of these races is breaking out of the gate well, because it's very hard to overcome if you don't do that. So I want to pay close attention to him, especially behind the gate going into it, and see what he looks like.
This is the single most important piece of tape you'll watch as far as the Saudi Cup is concerned. If he runs this race, I have no doubt he's going to be there at the wire. Maybe he doesn't win, but he's going to have a say. This is a tremendous, tremendous effort, and the form continues to be flattered. You've had a number of horses come back out and win out, not just in races alone, in group and grade 1, 2, 3 races.
He's quite an unusual mover for a dirt horse, isn't he? Normally,
Skippy.
I associate American dirt horses with that kind of grindy action. He kind of floats across, almost like a good fast ground turf horse.
He does. He moves just like a turf horse, actually. It's great that you said that. When you look at that video and you look at the horses behind him, they're hitting the ground like you described, like this. And he hits the ground like he's just skipping over it with that daisy cutter action. Very, graceful and light, which is funny.
A bit like Matt Bernier.
Oh, yes.
I don't think anybody's ever called
I don't know.
me that.
I saw you last night at dinner, Matt.
Yeah.
Marsh Lorraine was a global sensation, really, in the Breeders' Cup Distaff, because not only did she shock all of us, she shocked her own countrymen and women by winning that race. But was it a fluke?
Well, it was certainly the best race of her career. There's no two ways around that. She had a lot of things go her way. Taking a look as they go into the far turn of the distaff, the pace signed on this day was off the charts fast. Everything worked to her advantage. But to be fair,
she's in the blinkers, by the way, on the outside, the red and white.
She's got the red cap with the green body. She's not that far off of it. She's making the first run into the hottest part of the pace. And for her to dig down deep and prevail, I think speaks volumes about her overall ability. My concern about her from this race that we're watching right now to tonight, she's a different class of animal in this race this evening here, in my opinion.
Well, first of all, it's going to be boys. And second of all, I felt like the quote-unquote good horses in the distaff ended up not finishing like we thought they would, and possibly part of that was because of the pace. Maybe it was some of the situation like with Latruska with the training leading up to it. So maybe the best horses didn't show up that she was able to beat, but the thing is, she put her head in front and she kept it there. Other horses came at her and they were not able to pass her. I have to really give credit to a horse like this who shows some gumption late.
She's quite unfeminine for a filly, isn't she? She's a big, deep-chested, raw bone, powerhouse of a mare.
And if they go hard early, she would be arguably the one who would appreciate it the most, given her running style. They're going to take her back, make one run similar to what we saw there out at Del Mar. The question is she going to get the fast pace that I think she might, but I know others think it may be a little bit more on the moderate side. If it is more moderate, it compromises her chance.
I do think it's curious the fact that she was a surprise to her connections to win the Breeders' Cup Distaff, and immediately they said, let's send her to the Saudi Cup. It wasn't like where should we send her, what should we do? It was like, we're going to go to the richest race in the world.
I guess in her favour is the fact that if the early pace is frenetic, she'll cope with it. She's not going to recoil from it. She's not going to be frightened of a frenetic pace, whereas some of the Europeans, it will be unlike anything they've ever experienced before.
Well, as we talked about earlier, at the end of the day, you still need to be able to handle the surface. We know that she is a proper dirt horse as opposed to some of these classy European turf runners that are going to be trying a different surface for the first time. She's an interesting candidate, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm completely cold watering her, but she has her work cut out for her tonight.
Number 2 in shot there is a defending champion. Capano Kicking won the Saudi Dirt Sprint this time last year. Can he do so again? Well, he's trained by Sachiaki Kobayashi, so there's every chance he can. See you in a moment. So runners in the paddock ahead of this Riyadh Dirt Sprint presented by Saudia. And in shot there Yellow silks of David Egan, who's picked up a plum spare ride here on Capano Kicking because William Buick was unable to make the journey. We'll find out whether they can do it after we find out more about Riyadh. Welcome back, runners in the parade ring for our penultimate race on Saudi Cup night. This is the Riyadh Dirt Sprint, $1.5 million, going to be called by John Hunt.
Thank you, Nick. Yes, the runners just in the parade ring now, jockeys coming out, so this is the prequel to the big one tonight. Dirt Sprint, the Riyadh Cup for grabs here. Number 1 Beehive was beaten by another of today's runners, Roxanne, in the qualifier for this. Last year's winner, Capano Kicking. Dagan out bright and early, looking forward to this challenge. 3 is Dancing Prince, like Capano Kicking, also trained in Japan. This horse won a tough Group 3 race last time out. Number 4 is Faz Zay. 4 out of 4 this season. Watch for the late closing. That's how he likes to race. He'll be hoping for loads of early speed here. Ginobili is an important non-runner. Number 6 is Gladiator King. Mikel Barcelona riding, the horse who was 3rd in this in 2020. 7, Good Effort. Former champion jockey in Great Britain, Jim Crowley rides. This horse won at listed level in the UK in November. Mortage is number 8, prolific winner and a strong traveller as well. Certainly one to watch out for. Rock Sound locks horns with Beehive once again. There was only a nose between them in that qualifier. Number 10, Switzerland, was 4th in this last year. New jockey to contend with now. Adre de Vries is on board for the luckless Tag O'Shea. 11, Rudy Trigger, an excellent piece of Arabian form brought to the table here, but disappointed in Dubai last time out. Number 12 is Chain of Love, also for Japan. This horse finished 6th in Japanese Oaks 2 years ago. Frontrunner Dolma will be doing well to set the pace here. This horse has been running in handicaps the last twice, and a very consistent but probably outclassed mare, Sunset Flash, number 14, completes the lineup for the Riyadh Dirt Sprint.
So, they're the runners and riders for the Riyadh Dirt Sprint. Let's take it in a bit more depth. Number 10 there is Switzerland. Michelle?
You know, Switzerland was really interesting to me. He's been around for a long time, and I think he's found his best form here at age 8, winning a race last time out by 9, although it was in the slot. When I looked at him last year, he was a very big and heavy horse. He's still kind of heavy, but he actually looks a lot fitter this year than I thought he looked last year.
He was fantastic in that most recent run at Meydan. Granted, it was over a bit of a wet track, but he won for fun, nearly 10 lengths, and in the grand scheme of things, if he can replicate that performance here tonight, I think he's in with a big chance.
There's Beehive, one of the local hopes.
Looking at Beehive right here, and coming in off a runner-up effort in the qualifier. I feel like the local horses haven't run that bad tonight.
They haven't.
If you take out the Japanese horses, they've been, you know, kind of like the surprise horses here.
Oh, it's a great bull of a horse, Beehive. There's Capano kicking, the defending champ. Sprung a bit of a surprise last year. Wouldn't be a surprise this time.
No, a terrible surprise. At the same time, the form following this event last year sort of went sideways. You would need this one to get back to that effort in this very race last year, I think, to truly be able to get the job done.
All right. Number 3 is next. This is Dancing Prince. Christophe Lemaire had quite a good night.
Now, before the day started, Matt and I both ended up on Dan France as our top pick in this race. With the Japanese have been winning races, I feel like we're, I don't know if I think they extended their luck, or is it a good thing?
I also don't, I could be wrong. I believe Tom Stanley also likes this horse.
Is he?
Right.
Oh, I'm off of it then.
Absolutely no chance then.
Off of it.
4 is Fazet.
Fazet actually looked really good walking around the paddock here. He's a glimmering gray, looks white under the lights, and I make a huge case for him. He is coming in off of a break, but he runs well fresh.
6 is Gladiator King. Mikael Barcelona running for Bhupat Simar from Dubai.
On his best day, he's actually in here and rather competitive. The problem is his recent form leaves a little bit to be desired. If he can be forwardly placed and get a good position early, I think maybe he'd make a run at this thing.
Yeah, Dirt Sprint isn't exactly where you'd normally find a British trained winner, but Ishmael Mohammed's based in Newmarket. He's got Jim Crowley to ride Good Effort, who's a hard horse. He's good enough class-wise.
All right, so class-wise, I'm glad you told me that because I wasn't sure what to do with him, but he stood out to me in the paddock as the best looker. He looks like your typical horse that you would want to have in this type of a race as a dirt sprinter. He's a very stout, round individual.
There's another local, Mortajay.
Getting the blinkers on today and cutting back in distance after a win last time out, going 7. He's actually been a little bit better going the longer distances, but he's 2 for 2 going 6, but it's been a long time since he's done it.
Attractive dappled grey, Mortajay. 9 is Rock Sound, 2 handlers. Good looking horse, very calm in the paddock.
Yeah, all around. Not much that you can say as far as class is concerned. Certainly going to get a bit of an acid test here, but an honest one of the local horses.
It's a winnable race, this, of its type. It's not the strongest edition of it. That's 9, Rock Sound. 11 is Rudy Trigger.
I want to go back to Rock Sound real quick, just because I like to give a negative to all your positives, Matt.
Please,
You're too
go on.
positive.
I'm sorry.
He runs on patterns, right? Win, lose, win, lose, win, lose. He won his last race, so he's supposed to lose today.
He's an in and outer.
There you go. Rudy Trigger on your screen right now, and ran 4th last time out, off of the break. Could improve. I don't know if he's still good enough.
Well, that's just it. It may have been nothing more than a means to an end to get to this race. The problem is he still needs to improve dramatically to be a threat in here.
All right, that's 11. Chain of Love. Runners on their way out of the paddock then.
For a group of sprinters, Nick, generally when you see them, I feel like I want to see them a little bit more keyed up, like you're seeing that one horse right there, the Yellow Silks. And this group plotted around here like a bunch of pony horses.
Switzerland is the horse to beat. Let's make that clear. I think if he replicates that UAE effort last time out, he's probably going to get the job done. But, Nick, to your point, this feels like of the 6 races tonight, one of the most wide open, if not the most wide open.
That was the 2 Capano kicking, by the way, that was on his toes in the paddock.
It is the aperitif to the Saudi Cup itself. This is the Riyadh Dirt Sprint in front of a bumper crowd here at King Abdulaziz, and we will be right back with you wherever you are in the world. Do stay tuned, the best is yet to come. All right then, running right on time here in Riyadh. And if you're still with us, runners are just on the way to post, and Switzerland is the horse that Matt Bernier told you was the one to beat here. What makes him have such a clear edge, Matt?
Well, I mean, he's a horse that has a great deal of back class. He's all the way outside.
He is like rubbing on the outside, actually.
Right on the hair rail.
So this horse, actually, I remember last year he got so worked up in the post parade and in the paddock. He was literally covered in lather. He had sweat dripping between his legs. So I don't think this is necessarily out of character for him, but he was definitely rubbing against the outside rail.
You need to decide what you want to do with him, because that last race at Meydan was fantastic visually. It also came over a wet track, and he is one who quite enjoys a wet track. He doesn't have that here this evening. On his best, he's probably the best horse in the race. That's a big if, though. Is he on it?
Okay. So he's not the sort of horse you'd be...
You're not overly bullish about.
Yeah.
You think he certainly get the job done, and he's probably the most likely. If they ran it 100 times, he probably wins 40.
But instinctively, as a handicapper, you're looking to oppose?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, and who would be at the top of your shortlist?
Well, that's the problem. If it's not
a long
him,
shortlist.
who? Yeah, so Capano King makes plenty of sense. Again, the form is a little bit suspect since the victory in this race last year. He also needs a little bit of pace in order to really be a true threat. Gladiator King, he's interesting.
Here in Riyadh, and this is the penultimate race on Saudi Cup night, and there is Capano Kicking, the first of two defending champions that will be ridden by David Egan. Egan, of course, had his finest hour in his career date when riding Mishrif to victory in the Saudi Cup 12 months ago. Again, he rides that horse at 8:35, but he's picked up the ride on Capano Kicking in this Riyadh sprint, but the intended rider, William Buick, did not pass a COVID test to leave Dubai, so he couldn't get here. Now, this could just put Egan right in the zone on the defending champion.
I'll tell you what, watching Capano Kicking in the paddock, he was on his toes, really excited to get going, and once the handler unleashed him onto the track, he got settled into a really nice rhythm. He's been nothing but good since coming back behind the gate.
When we start loading, now okay.
Very, very curious manoeuvre from the rider of Switzerland on the way down to post. I don't know if our commentator John Hunter had a good view of that. John, Switzerland was right on the hair rail, as we'd say.
Indeed, yeah, that's probably where he's thinking he might end up here. Of course, he's drawn 14, isn't he, Switzerland? But yeah, very anxious, wasn't he, Andre de Vries, to keep him in check. I often think when they sit on the rail like that on the way to post, they're just trying to keep a lid on things here. These, of course, explosive animals over a really sharp trip. Just noticing how short a run it is to that first bend. It's only 200 meters, and then they're starting the turn, really, left-handed. So Switzerland, well, he's got himself down on the post, probably more relaxed than some of the others. He went down twice as slowly.
Yeah, interesting that, Matt. I just pick up on John's point. Andre de Vries just trying to keep a lid on this horse, but he is parked right out wide. So how does de Vries play this?
Well, that's the thing. You're going to be caught wide if you don't use a little bit early on to establish some position. But at the same time, if you're trying to save something for that stretch run, you don't want to use too much too early to try to get over and make sure that you're not hung too wide. I'll be very curious. I brought up Gladiator King. His form recently doesn't look all that great, but keep in mind, he's only started once in the better part of a year. And no match for Switzerland in that most recent run. He's a speed type, and on his best day, I think he's got a puncher's chance. I really do.
For Bhupat Seema, who's taken over the license in the United Arab Emirates from his brother Satish, who is suspended from having a license at the moment. Bhupat's got an intriguing runner who could lend some shape, some pace shape to the Saudi Cup later on.
I'll tell you what, Nick, I'm just watching these horses right here. You're talking about pace. I don't exactly know the pace is going to come from. I don't think Switzerland can be sent. I would check him. I would hold him up and move him back and make one run.
I think Gladiator King is going to go. I think Rudy Trigger is going to be forwardly placed. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw Rock Sound forwardly placed as well. At that point, if Switzerland can slot over and sit in behind maybe those three, try not to lose too much ground, maybe 4 or 5 paths off the rail, I think that would be an ideal scenario if you're a fan of Switzerland.
It's a lovely spot for David Egan in the 3 gate, isn't it? On Capano Kicking?
Certainly, you break, you let everybody go out there. Hopefully the pace is honest where you can eventually swing out into the clear. We've seen that time and time again throughout our meeting and over these 2 days on the main track here. Wide sweeping moves do very well from off the pace, so there's a reason a horse like Capano Kicking has a legitimate chance to repeat as champion of this race.
And, you know, even though his form isn't very good coming into this, he has only hit the board once since his win in the dirt sprint last year. Form was really similar coming into this race last year as well. But then again, he also had Matera Sky out there setting pretty wicked fractions for him.
And perhaps it doesn't end up materializing quite in the same way. Maybe they don't go quite so hard. You'd like to think it's a sprint. They got to go.
Yeah, Matera Sky is the horse who's been an agonizing nose runner-up in this race the last 2 years. He's not here this time. And he really broke the race open.
It certainly did, and again, it helps set up a late kick from a horse like Capano kicking. And to Michelle's point, maybe he won't go that fast. We'll find out. I think he's going to come with a run.
An hour from now, we'll know the result of the 2022 Saudi Cup. Frankie Dettori, the most recognizable jockey in international racing. Florent Geroux, this week awarded a Kentucky Derby winner. Now he's hoping that Mandolin can do it all on his own. Dettori, for his part, teams up with his old ally Saeed bin Sarua, for whom he rode so many Group and Grade 1 winners in the 90s and the early noughties. They've got real world. This is 13 Dolma, proving a little reluctant to go into the stalls.
The filly here, or a mare, coming in with back-to-back victories, and she does get a significant weight break from what she's been posting in her last couple.
All right, jockey up, she's gone in, no problem. And the loading process has begun for the Riyadh Dirt Sprint. Distance here of 1,200 metres, 6 furlongs, 3/4 of a mile. Around this sweeping main track. Now, Switzerland, the horse you would naturally favour for this race, parked right widest of all in 14. How does Adrie de Vries play it? We'll find out very shortly. He's in the black and orange silks. Last year's winner, Cano, kicking the yellow with the red hoop, drawn one from the inside. Final thoughts, Michelle and Matt?
I'm still going to go with the 3 Dancing Prince. I like that horse in here. I think that the Japanese have had a really great night, and this horse likes the wet, likes the fast, loves the distance. There's a lot to like about him. Oh yeah, and Christophe Lemaire's ready.
I was going to say, I'm not going to change. I think Dancing Prince is going to work out a lovely trip in this spot, and to your point, Lemaire has the hot hand.
He might be the $10 million man tonight, Nick. I mean, if he is, I wouldn't. Christophe Lemaire is capable of, you know, winning all these races. The thing is, some jockeys aren't, right? Some jockeys, you're like, oh, if you win 2, then you might probably not going to win another one. Christophe Lemaire could easily win 5 races a day, and you wouldn't think twice about it.
The law of averages. The other nice thing about Dancing Prince, a horse that has nice early tactical speed, isn't one that's likely to be coming too far out of it. And in a way, you would almost rather have a legitimate pace signed on if you're a fan of Dancing Prince, because he can still stay within shouting distance of the front and get the jump on the deep closers. If it becomes a bit of a more bunched up field, that can kind of lend itself to some of these, let's just say, more random results.
They're definitely taking their time to load here, and Switzerland actually getting a pony assistance. We saw him be very bad when he was leaving the paddock, but he walked right in there, and he's pretty calm behind the gate. But I like the fact they went to the pony just to make sure he wasn't going to cause any more shenanigans.
All right, just 4 back now. Ahead of this Riyadh Dirt Sprint, prize money of $1.5 million. You can see the familiar face of David Egan there, the yellow silks. What a big night for him, as he'll partner Mishrif in just 3/4 of an hour in the feature race. It's a tardy load here, but make no mistake, they'll come home quick enough and they'll be called by John Hunt.
Nick, thank you. Gladiator King is one of those outlined. There are just 3 more to load up. For Japan, Chain of Love is also waiting to go, and Rudy Trigger out the back as well. Hopefully this will be explosive. I think the delay in loading largely contributing that was Dolma, who played up, and Switzerland was in out, shake it all about. But Switzerland now settled, happy in that wide draw, stall 14. So we wait now, Chain of Love to come in. Chain of Love, a little hesitant. Been a good horse for some time now. On the fringe of things in the Japanese Oaks a couple of years ago. Now sprinting in safely. Out the back still, Rudy Trigger, and now guided forward is Gladiator King. A couple of years ago, ran so well, finishing 3rd. Gladiator King inching forward. Same colours, of course, as Switzerland. Switzerland with the light cap. Meanwhile, Rudy Trigger, as patient as you like, waiting for calm ahead before loading, and will be the last one by the looks of things. They'll go hard here. 1,200 metres. No time at all, they'll be into that first bend. And some of these have been in the stalls quite some time now. So they'll be relieved to see Rudy Trigger come forward as last of all for the Riyadh Cup. Fast and Furious Dirt Sprint coming up. Race 7 this evening. Set to go. Anxious looks at the starter, who sends them on their way. And away nicely was Faz Zay on the wide outside, and Rudy Trigger begins very brightly as well. But to the front here in the stripes, Dancing Prince showing the best overall speed to lead from Beehive, and then good effort towards the inside of them. And then Rudy Trigger, who's trying to go with them as well. Just in behind these leaders and not far off the pace is Dolma, often a front runner. Can't get to the front tonight though. Rock Sound is just going past Dolma, who's struggling. Capano Kicking will be ridden for a little bit of luck. In behind them, staying to the inside. Gladiator King out wide. Widest of all is Switzerland, who's just gone past Chain of Love, and then further back is Sunset Flash as they head then back towards the home straight. And up front, Dancing Prince in charge here. In second place, good effort, trying desperately hard to close. These two have opened right up. Capano Kicking surely can't repeat last year's win down the outside. Chain of Love, but it's still Dancing Prince who's rolling on from good effort. The others are not getting any closer. Dancing Prince for the first time brought under pressure, but can now coast home to give Christophe Lemaire an unforgettable four-timer on the night. They've all won so brilliantly, and Japan continue to fly. Second place, good effort. That was a really good, solid run, but was well beaten at the line. Capano Kicking and Chain of Love were the next ones home, and the stragglers include Beehive and Rock Sound, who couldn't mount a challenge. Rudy Trigger also struggling home, nearer last than first. Gladiator King and Switzerland never really made an impact on the race. 4 winners on such a prestigious night, unheard of. Christophe Lemaire rewriting the Saudi Cup night record books here with Dancing Prince, and not another horse in sight as he flashes past the line to win with great authority by 6 or 7 lengths. Good effort, was 4 clear of the rest of them. Chain of Love just third there, Capano Kicking fourth, and then a little gap back to Sunset Flash, who was followed by Switzerland, Gladiator King and Faz Zay next in the field, and they in turn were clear of Mortage, who beat the rest fair and square. But there was only one in that, Dancing Prince. I doubt whether Christophe Lemaire has ever had a night quite like this. 4 winners on the night, of course. An extraordinary display from him in the saddle.
Well, Japanese thoroughbreds are romping in the desert with reckless abandon. That's 4 up for Christophe Lemaire, and the extraordinary aspect of this for 4 different Japanese-based trainers. Now, Kizuto Miyata gets in on the action, courtesy of Dancing Prince. It was far from unforeseen, but could you have foreseen the manner of the victory, which was just imperious for 6 furlongs?
It was incredible, right to the front, sets the pace again. Lemaire right now is reading the room as well as he possibly can. He breaks, goes right to the front and says, look, nobody wants to challenge me. I'm going to take it to you. And look, this is 2 consecutive races for him where he wins by open lengths, setting the pace, and a rather tepid pace at that.
That's the key, right? This horse, he's getting out there with these horses. They're not being asked at all. And then when other horses are trying to make up ground, he still has so much left. He just ekes them out. And they're in full flight. Beautifully, beautifully handled by Christophe tonight.
We're sitting around the campfire last night saying, well, this track favours closers, doesn't it? Horses who are going to benefit from them going too fast on a deepish, quite attritional track up front.
Apparently nobody wants to go early tonight on the
Except
dirt.
winners.
Except the winners. Yeah. I mean, it's been a really incredible run right here. And again, credit to Lemaire, who he's just so in tune right now with the way everything is going. And not to gloss over the fact that, yes, another Japanese winner. You had a Japanese horse run third as well. All the Japanese horses are running tonight.
I do want to bring up a point. When we look at the Japanese surfaces, they tend to be very, very sandy and very demanding. And some people have expressed concern that the horses aren't going to be able to transfer the form to a faster track that's a little bit wetter like this. What we've seen now is that Japanese horses are extremely fit from this deep, sloggy sand to come over here. They are blazing over this.
But isn't this result of decades of good breeding, good training, and really efficient administration of a sparkling and upwardly mobile racing jurisdiction? Christophe Lemaire is also a prize asset for every Japanese trainer, as he's proved again. Here he is with Tom.
4 wins, $4.2 million prize fund you've won tonight. Christophe, unbelievable.
Unbelievable. I can't realize right now, but what is real?
Tell me about this horse. How good was he?
Yeah, he's a bit high tension into the gate. I was worried because we took time to take the start. But fortunately, he could jump well, brake well. I could take the lead, reduce the pace, and then let him go.
Well done.
And the only surprising thing about the evening is that Christophe Lemaire doesn't have a ride in the Saudi Cup, and there are 2 Japanese runners.
Just wait, there might be a rider change.
Yeah. I'm beginning to wonder whether Yoshito Yahagi got the wrong Christophe when he booked Sumi on for the ride on Marche Lorraine. He's had some great days, but very few of them can match this.
I want to go back to what you're saying too about the Japanese training program. They have these great training centers where horses are allowed to do so many different things. Typically you go to the racetrack and you jog to the right and then you gallop to the left and you work to the left. You know, obviously in the UK you have the yards and you're able to go do some different things. But a lot of the training centers in Japan not only have both directions you can train in, but they have multiple surfaces. They have uphill wood chips. They have the sand track. They've got the regular dirt track. They've got synthetic tracks. And I think that horses are able to do different things in different directions. It really helps improve them mentally as well as physically.
You just look at some of the horses that have come out of Japan in the last couple of years. Contrail, the Triple Crown winner, the brilliant fillies, Gran Allegria, Almond Eye, who won in Dubai in a hack canter hard held, Euphoria, the latest star off the block. If Euphoria comes anywhere this year, Europe, America, wherever you like, will take an enormous amount of beating. 4 for Lemaire. Brilliant rider, riding really fit, hard, well-conditioned horses. Not all the top rated in their divisions tonight either.
I just love the ride. Again, this is a horse that typically is one that likes to sit just off of a target, take over as they turn for home and draw off. Instead, if no one wants to go and you break alertly, the last thing you want to do is take a horse out of their element. That's a major advantage that you have. And again, we talked about it leading into the race. It's not as though there was a headliner, a true headliner in this spot. We didn't have, a proper Group 1 or Grade 1 dirt sprinter. So it felt like it was a little bit up for the taking. And again, credit to Lemaire. I know we keep saying it sounds like broken records, but he's just put together a fantastic evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
You think he's disappointed that he doesn't have a mount in the Saudi Cup now, the way he's riding? You think he's going to go ask the other riders, hey, anyone want to sit out?
Authority with authority in the opener. It was a good night. Then it was a very good night when Songline sprung a minor surprise in the 13:51. She had to do it slightly differently, beat a US horse and a top Brit as well. And then this was just poetry. Stay Foolish on the front end over nearly 2 miles, stacked them up, kicked away, really impressive. And then that, imperious, frankly. And he can count as well, which is great. A man of many talents. Indeed, it's his ability to pace a race that's really shown.
I think it's not only his ability to pace a race, but his ability to take advantage of a situation going on in a race, because they were all won on the front end. The majority of them were, but he also came from off the pace today. He's just doing what other people aren't doing. And we see a lot of riders do that at their home jurisdictions, because you know the other riders in the room and you know the horses you're going against. And if there's a paceless race or a race with too much pace, you're able to kind of use that to your advantage. It's rare, I think, that we see a rider go out of their area and dominate with the way that he's planning these out and fulfilling things that all of a sudden come to him.
And I love that they've all come in different styles of races. Marathons on grass, middle distance grass races, turf sprints, and a dirt sprint. It genuinely takes a world-class rider to be able to successfully navigate things. And granted, you've been on the lead for all of these almost. That still takes quite a bit of internal clock to be able to ration out the fractions accordingly.
It's always said if it looks good, it probably is good. That's what they said about Frankie Dettori for so many years. Just perfect harmony and rhythm with the horse. And you could say the same about Lemaire. He's a great stylist. He looks good on a horse as well as being tactically effective.
He looks great on a horse. He's been around for a long time. He's a huge celebrity in Japan, and this is one of the reasons why. Right now, all of a sudden, the Japanese have these great horses that are competitive on the world stage, and other people are getting familiar with Christophe, but we've known for a long time how good he is.
Saudia, the national airline of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, sponsoring this race and presenting the trophies. The head of marketing and customer experience group, Turki Mohammed Al Dafayan, and the chief executive, Walid Abdullah Al Mukbil. Trainer Kazuto Miyata, owner Chizu Yoshida, rider Christophe Lemaire.
I hope he brought an extra carry-on.
But for all that Japan have had so much success so far, will it be that they go home with the biggest prize of all and the most valuable prize in world horse racing? The Saudi Cup is coming next.
Welcome to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, a land carved by the hooves of its horses, a land to which all racehorses can trace their heritage.
And welcome to Riyadh, where the eyes of the racing world will once again be trained on the kingdom for the most valuable event in the international calendar. $31.5 million spread across 8 races, all culminating in the world's richest horse race, the 2022 Saudi Cup.
And from across the world they have come. Runners from Japan, France, the UAE, South America, the USA, and 2 of the very best from right here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, looking to take on last year's victor, who stands on the edge of history.
This is the 2nd edition of the world's richest horse race.
The style in which he won it is very much everything that we could possibly have dreamed of.
And they're off in the Saudi Cup. Mishrif under pressure back in 3rd.
The perfect race.
Mishrif is now the challenger.
No good jockey was made without a good horse.
Mishrif is roused to the lead.
Mishrif is my good horse.
Mishrif conquers the cup, an upset winner.
Plan has always been to come back again. It looks a mighty tough field, but so it should be.
The UK-trained and Saudi-owned Colt Mishrif, looking to retain his cup. If he can do so, he will surpass Australian superstar Winks as the richest thoroughbred to have ever raced.
They first raced in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in 1965. They've now come of age to the point where they host the world's most valuable horse race. It's coming right up. Nick Luck alongside Matt Bernier and Michelle Yu, paddock side at King Abdulaziz Racecourse here in Riyadh. We've got 14 runners. Matt, we've got 7 nationalities represented. Have we finally reached the point where we can talk about a horse race as truly a global affair?
Yeah, without question. This event, in a rather short amount of time, has established itself among the elite races in the entire world, along the lines of the Breeders' Cup Classic, the Dubai World Cup. You take a look, you've got the defending champion Mishrif in here. We've got fantastic European turf form, trying dirt. We've got the American contingent. And based on the way this evening has gone, look out for the Japanese.
The Japanese have won 4 races, Michelle, already, and they've got Tio Keynes, their dirt champion, and Breeders' Cup winner Marsh Loren in the race.
They definitely do, and I think people were already taking a look at Tio Keynes, and some people are going to be interested in Marshall Lorraine as well. But the way that the Japanese horses have been running tonight, you have to give 2 or 3 looks to them.
Here's a horse who sensationally earlier this week was awarded finally the Kentucky Derby of 2021. His name is Mandaloon, and he seeks, Matt, to become the first winner for Juddmonte Farms in this race. That's an enterprise that was founded by the late Khaled Abdullah, one of the founding fathers of of post-war thoroughbreds, if you like, and he wants to win a big race in his own right.
I was going to say, the big thing about this horse to this point in his career, his 2 Grade 1 wins in the United States have both come via disqualification. He has always shown that he is a supremely talented animal. Hopefully, the mind now as a newly turned 4-year-old has caught up to the body.
I think also we have to remember that Brad Cox came here last year bringing Knicks Go, one of his stable stars. Horse ended up actually being Horse of the Year for 2021 in America, but he wasn't able to win. So I think there's some redemption on the line for Brad Cox as well.
He'll be ridden by Frenchman Florent Giroux, but firmly established as one of the United States of America's leading riders, who are going to be the key other American horses in today's race. Midnight Bourbon has had a rivalry with Mandaloun that goes back over a year. His trainer Steve Asmussen was second in the first edition of this race with another Midnight Bisou, and he's hugely confident that Midnight Bourbon can run a big race. Matt and Michelle alongside me during the course over the next hour.
I just want to mention real quick, Nick, the horse before that we were looking at was Teo Keynes, and that horse canned himself really worked up. We saw the mornings here earlier on this week, and he was very hot. I love how he's coming over right now.
Let's head to the jockeys room. Tom Stanley.
And here, Nick, is a serious jockeys room as well. Guys in here just riding in the Saudi Cup alone have amassed between the 5 Japan Cups, 52 wins at the Breeders' Cup, 73 European Classics, and I think he'll like this. Over 800 wins at the very top level, Group or Grade 1 wins. You've got a third of them, Frankie Dettori. How are you?
I'm good.
What are you expecting from the big ride here? A horse who, what is he going to handle the surface?
Well, that's the question mark. The horse is a great Nick. He's 5 from 5 his last runs. He's matured a lot. Look, if he takes to the dirt and he handles the kick back, I think that he's not without a shot. You know, the Americans, we're going to jump and fly along the back, and they're going to put some distance to us, and then that's why you get most of the kickback, and hopefully if he can cope with that, then we'll have a strategy in the straight, and hopefully he'll come on well.
How concerned would you be, Frankie, that he's had 4 goes on the dirt at Meydan and hasn't won, and now he's trying the dirt again? How different is this surface, do you think?
It is different, it's kinda. You know, there is a concern, but the horse was still young last year, and he's matured really well. He's full of confidence, and he's ready to take on the big boys. You know, I just got to go out there and think that he does like the surface, and be positive.
Just like old times. Godolphin Blue, Saïd Bin Suroor, Frankie Dettori.
Yes.
Good luck.
Rolling back the years.
Yeah, Frankie Dettori, as he said there, he's ridden over 100 Group and Grade 1s in those silks. He normally rides for that man there, John Gosden, but the ride on Mishriff, the defending champion, is with David Egan, because young David Egan is the retained rider to...
Start for trainer Bob Baffert.
Aero Trend is the first ever South American runner in the Saudi Cup. He could be the finest Uruguayan export since Invasor.
Trainer Steve Asmussen has won more races than anyone else in U.S. history, and he says Midnight Bourbon might be one of the best in the world.
In the 1990s, trainer Saïd Bin Suroor and rider Frankie Dettori, who team up with real Michelle.
Absolutely. You want to see these horses being well behaved in here. A horse can definitely run their race before the race, and we have a couple in here to keep an eye on, like that might want to do that. Notably, Teo Keynes. He has been told, or we have been told by numerous parts of his connections, that this is a horse that can lose his cool before the race, and that could be detrimental.
Okay, you could just see Midnight Bourbon, the far side there. His trainer, Steve Asmussen, record-breaking US trainer. Amazing his confidence, his bullishness coming into this race with Midnight Bourbon.
He's a very talented racehorse, but is similar to Mandaloun, oftentimes found wanting. He, can't quite get the job done. Maybe there's one or two better. He's going to be an important part of tonight's race, regardless, win or lose, because he projects to be among, if not outright, on the lead.
Look at what a good boy he's being, by the way. He is standing there picture perfect for Stephen Scott.
John Gosden, who with his son Thady trains Mishriff. You felt this horse came quietly on them, really, that he wasn't sort of the apple of their eye when they first had him, and he's had to sort of chisel his way into their affections. Don't forget, he came into a stable that housed some of Europeans' most celebrated champions at the time, Enable and Stradivarius and Cracksman and so many more. Mishriff has turned into a model pro. John's son Thady doing the saddling duties is now officially on the license. Welcome back. We are just over 20 minutes to post time for the Saudi Cup, the most valuable horse race in the world. And if Mishriff is to win the Saudi Cup, he will create a piece of history, not just by becoming the first to win it twice, but also by becoming the highest earning racehorse in history. Let's have a look at those who dominate that table at present. Australian star Winks, American Arrogate, some of the legendary names of the turf. Down at 9th at present is Mishriff. He would need to win his $10 million first prize. You don't have to be a genius mathematician to work out that he leapfrogs all of those great names. Winks, Arrogate, Almondai for Japan, Thunder Snow, dual winner of the Dubai World Cup, Gentle Donner, 2 stars from Japan, and Gunrunner, who ran in the colours sported today by Midnight Bourbon. Colours of Arrogate and Enable on that list will be sported by Florent Giroux aboard Mandaloun, who is trained by Brad Cox. As I said earlier, Mandaloun was awarded the Kentucky Derby earlier this week. This is how he's been preparing for the Saudi Cup, in the words of his trainer, Brad Cox.
I've had Mandaloun since the summer of his 2-year-old season. He came in, Garrett O'Rourke sent him in, and actually sent him in with a couple other colts, and made the comment where, we're hoping one of these is a Derby horse. He's a pretty cool horse. He's pretty easy to manage. Now, he has his times where he feels really good. He'll rear up here or there, but I think he's just, it's just out of feeling good. But overall, he's, his attitude's really good. He's straightforward. He trains well. He likes to train. He's a good workhorse. There's nothing tough about him at all. I thought his race here in January was, going to tell us if that's something we wanted to pursue, and he actually passed the test with flying colors, even better than expected. So, Garrett runs the Juddmonte farm here in the U.S. I made the comment right after the Kentucky Derby, we would like to turn our attention toward the Saudi Cup, and here we are. It's not often that you can set a plan with a horse, say 9-10 months in advance and execute it, but we have a little ways to go. We have a few weeks out. I don't want to say too much, but everything's went extremely well since the Kentucky Derby. For me, to have a chance to train for such a prestigious operation is, it's a dream come true. When the richest race in the world on their own soil would be very special to the family. So, hopefully if everything goes well, that's something we'll experience. I've heard nothing but good things about the racetrack itself, the surface, and how horses come out of it. It's a 1-turn mile and an eighth, which is a race. I like the idea of it. It gives horses an out. You know, I think you get around 5/8 of a mile to kind of get your placing. You know, our horse has tactical speed. I think he'll break, he'll be involved. So I like the idea of the 1-turn mile and an eighth with Mandaloun. I think it's something that he'll like, he'll enjoy, and you know, we'll see. You know, I think it's going to be a good group. Anytime you put up $20 million, you're going to get some competition, and that's exactly what's going to happen. You're going to have your running shoes on, for sure.
Mandaloun, has he arrived at his date with Destiny? Looks in good shape for Brad Cox and Florent Joux. One of a 4-strong contingent from the United States. Crown Prince of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, has arrived. They're heading up to the royal box to cast his eye over what's become one of the most important sporting events in the kingdom, as you heard from His Royal Highness Prince Bandar if you were with us earlier on. This isn't just about a single day, a single event, a single big purse. This is about establishing horse racing on a firmer footing in the kingdom. Been racing here since 1965. This racetrack opened in 2003, so horse racing is nothing new here, and the love of the horse is clearly exhibited by so many here in this part of the world. But it's really about competing with the other established horse racing nations in Europe and United States of America, and of course Japan. I asked Prince Bandar what he aspired to earlier. He said to be like the Japanese this evening, and that's a reasonable aspiration, if a fair way off.
But you have to remember that he wants to build something too, like Japan has done. They've taken horses and they've come to America and they've picked out stallions and they've picked out brood bears and they've imported and they've tried to just better their breed steadily over time by breeding better and better horse horses. I think we've seen over the last couple of years that we've been here, Nick, the product of the racehorses that are coming out of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia are definitely on the improve.
The Crown Prince receiving the national anthem of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and now the 2022 Saudi Cup is officially upon us. Not only that lion's share of $20 million, but also a pretty magnificent and enormous trophy commissioned by the House of Garrard. We will be taking a deep dive into the world's most valuable horse race when you rejoin us in just a moment's time. The hopes not only of Great Britain on his shoulders, but also his own home country of Ireland, and also everybody here, or an awful lot of people here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Saudi-owned, British-trained, Irish-ridden Mishrif, and he's alongside Thady Gosden, young co-trainer, son of John, who's been such an important part of international horse racing through the last 3 decades. Mishrif, a 6th-generation homebred for owner Prince Faisal. Ryan Moore, multiple British champion jockey, riding for France here, riding Sealy for the first time. And what do the Japanese have to say about this race? T.O. Keynes, their senior representative, Japanese dirt champion. 2 Godolphin riders. William Buick can't be here today because he is not passed a COVID test. White Cap Mikel Barcelona will run Magny-Cours for Andre Fabre, and Frank Dettori on Real World for Saïd bin Tarua. There's Florent Joux in the Juddmonte Farm silks. A few thoughtful moments.
That was good, that was good.
Riding Mandaloun for Brad Cox. He's got ultimate faith in the horse, but he knows in the animal that this man rides, Mishrif, he has a really tough nut to crack. And as Matt Van Eeren and Michelle Yu have said during the course of this telecast, has Mandaloun got the heart to match his class? What do we think?
by 6 lengths. And the Breeders' Cup winner, Marsh Lorraine, she completes the lineup. Maybe well heading off to the paddocks after this. Can she cause a mild surprise, just like she did at Del Mar last fall? A fabulous lineup for a fabulous race. The Saudi Cup minutes away.
So runners on the way to post then for the Saudi Cup of 2022. Mishriff is clearly the best place to start, Michelle. You've been to see this horse. You got up close and personal with him. What are his attributes? Why has he become the horse he has?
I don't know why he's become the horse he has, but he definitely knows that he is the horse that everyone's talking about. When you come around him in the stable, he is confident, he is assured, he knows he's the boss, and he tells you very clearly what he wants to do or doesn't want to do. That being said, he's also professional, he's a gentleman, and I think that he just looks fantastic. He's carrying really great flesh, his coat looks amazing, and he looks really fit. Also, he was being very naughty in the walking ring here. When the rider got up, he tried to buck him off. When they got on the track, he wanted to go, and David did not. And David was trying to keep him bent over, and he didn't, and was really trying to buck him off.
All right, let's join Tom Stanley.
Nick, thanks. I've got Brad Cox with me, trainer of a horse who, look, he must have a really good chance here, Mandaloun, off the back of the season that he's had, and congratulations for getting that Kentucky Derby on earlier on in the week. What does he want to set up in front of him here, Brad?
Yeah, my jock said the track seems to be a touch deep, so we'll let him just kind of bounce out of there and find his way up the backside. Hopefully it's somewhat forwardly placed. He's comfortable down on the inside. That's not a worry. If he's covered up, he'll run once he gets clear. And he's a pretty tactical horse. I think he can run various different positions, and excited about this opportunity.
Obviously, Nick's Go is a completely different type of horse who you brought to this race last year, but did you learn anything bringing a horse to this race?
Well, it's not as if we have many options. Listen, when you're in America, this is when you come over to a designated time, you settle in. We got a nice little work earlier this week with this horse, very similar to what we did with Nick's Go last week, or last year, I should say. But we're excited about this opportunity, and I think that you learn something every time you do something.
Cheers, Brad. Good luck.
Thank you.
Did you think, Matt, that Brad sounded a bit worried about the surface there?
No, I think he's just being honest about it, saying it's a little bit different than what we are typically used to back at home. The most interesting thing to me tactically is there's a real scenario that the two most likely winners of this race, Mandaloun and Mishriff, are going to start their runs at the same time. Mishriff to the outside, in a way, he holds the keys for Mandaloun if he's in behind the speeds, because he could potentially box him in a little bit of race riding. I think it's going to be a really intriguing race to see unfold.
Talk about Midnight Bourbon, whose career has been so closely intertwined with this horse.
Yeah, the two of them have knocked heads on several different occasions. Like you mentioned earlier, Steve Asmussen has been extremely bullish about Midnight Bourbon. They faced each other last time in the Louisiana, and I felt like Midnight Bourbon had everything his own way. It was really his race to lose, and lose he did. It does concern me. I think that Midnight Bourbon doesn't have an additional kick, and I think down this long stretch especially, you need a horse that has that extra gear to give.
All right, back there, white cap, maroon colours, Midnight Bourbon, colours made famous by runner, colours of Ron Winchell, is here today. Steve Asmussen trained more than any other person in the United States. But both will have to perform right up to their best to get the better of defending champ Mishriff. His co-trainers with Tom.
Yeah, he is. Thady Gosden has been out with his horse since Monday this week. You were out with him throughout last year. You've travelled around the world with him. How is he?
Yeah, he's done well. He really enjoys being out here. He's obviously been out here 3 years on the bounce now, and he really settles into the rhythm of it and relaxes into his routine, and hopefully thrives this year as he has done the last two.
What surface do you think he's at his very best on, Thady?
Well, it's an interesting question. The dirt here is sort of rides much better than most dirt tracks. It's probably one of the finest, if not the finest, dirt surface in the world. And it rides much kinder. It's much a lighter surface, and the turf horse seem to handle it better. So it's a slight advantage to him. But he's run some good races on both.
If he wins this again, he's definitely a dirt horse. Hey, very best of luck. Cheers.
Thank you very much.
Mishriff, big hope for Britain and for Saudi Arabia. Let's have a look at the key Japanese runners here. We'll start with T.O. Keynes. How impressed were you by his victory at Christmas time, Matt?
To me, it's the single most important and impressive piece of tape leading into this race. I liked him coming into it prior to the Japanese success. Now, it's hard not to give the Japanese contingent a second look if you were questioning them headed into it based on their performances tonight.
I love the way he's acting right now, Nick. We saw him in the pre-parade ring getting a little bit worked up, and that's what he's tended to do. But they said just just watch him on here. Now, there is still an opportunity for him to be bad, and that's when he gets into the stalls. But watching him school earlier this week, he actually was very good once he got in, but he doesn't like to be bossed around. Everyone back here is going to have to be patient. The Connections have met with the gate team to tell them exactly how to treat this horse. If he doesn't want to go in, he's not to be forced in.
Right, they're the key contenders from the UK, from the United States, from Japan, and there's more that we will show you very shortly. They are racing for this magnificent trophy and for the lion's share of $20 million. Saudi Cup is coming your way. It's moments away. So runners assembling at the post then for the Saudi Cup. Seeley Way there, the chestnut, the mount of Ryan Moore for France. Perfectly relaxed now. He's got a bit about him, hasn't he? He's a real character.
Very talented racehorse. You know, take a look back at that Champion Stakes last fall. You can't help but think part of the result was in large part because of the surface and the circumstances. He really got over that bog. I'm not doubting his ability here tonight. I just don't know how he's going to handle the main track.
Watching him over here in the pre-parade ring, he was definitely making his presence known. He was whinnying and shouting and looking all around. There's a very large crowd here, in fact, a record-breaking crowd on Handnick, and fans can line up pretty much right where the horses are. You're 4 feet away from them, if that, and he was extremely interested in everything that was going on.
As barely a race that's not there on Frankie Dettori's glittering resume. This is one of them. He'd fancy a Saudi Cup before his career ends. He's on Real World.
Real World's a wild card in here. His turf form is exceptional. You could even argue he's one of the best turf horses in the world. The problem is his dirt form is horrendous, and you need to hope, if you like him tonight, that for whatever reason he just despises Meydan and he's going to really appreciate it here.
Well, there is something to be said about different surfaces, and there's a look at him right now. His sire, Dark Angel, tends to throw runners that go extremely hot, so white lather all over them and just on their toes a lot. Watching him school this week, he was extremely worked up, and I talked to the Connections, and they said that the longer he's here, the more he'll settle down. He looks picture perfect right now. Saeed also said this is the best draw he's ever had in a major race.
Yeah, he said he normally picks wrong, but he was happy with this, and he's certainly going to be happy to be reunited with his old friend Frankie Dettori, who rode so many of his Group and Grade 1 winners. Indeed, Dettori's ridden, as he was keen to remind me, over 100 winners at Group or Grade 1 level in those Royal Blue Silks, and today he rides against his main stable of the Gosdens. 4 minutes to post time. The world's elite thoroughbreds.
And the best jockeys.
In the world's richest race.
The $20 million
Saudi Cup.
Mishriff is roused to the lead. Mishriff conquers the cup.
4 minutes to post time. Jockeys came out a few moments ago ahead of the $20 million Saudi Cup. 7 nations represented. There's David Egan on the defending champion, Mishriff. A really cool, experienced head on young shoulders. A slightly less young-shouldered Frankie Dettori, who's riding for old friend Saeed Bin Suroor, who's with Tom Stanley.
He is. He bought Ben Battle here a couple of years ago. He ran really well. You're bringing Real World this year. Why this race, Saeed?
It's a good race. Everybody in the world now, they watch this race. The prize money is big, 20 million, but also you see the best quality of horses they run tonight.
What's your gut feeling about the dirt, this dirt surface?
Well, I mean, this, like what you see him, he's in the past, like he won last 5 races between England and France and Dubai. But they're going to be for him this year, first time he ran in the dirt. We ran him in Dubai in the turf just to make him ready and fit. The good things that happened a week before, as till last Thursday, before he traveled to Saudi, he was working really good, the best ever. That's a good sign from him. Then I hope he handled the dirt well.
And you've got a good draw thanks to Michelle Yu. Saeed, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Real World, upwardly mobile. Will he handle this?
You know what? There's a good chance that he does. There's not a horse that's in better form than him. He brings in 5 straight wins. And because all of his dirt defeats are at the same spot, there is the chance that he is just not handling the surface there for whatever reason it may be.
I suppose because he's not considered one of the favorites or one of the more likely winners, you could make an argument. It's just very difficult for me to believe that all of a sudden it's going to work against the best of the best internationally on dirt.
Remember 2006-07 and the storm that was Invasor, winner of the Breeders' Cup Classic Dubai World Cup. This is the best Uruguayan since. He's called Aero Trem.
You know, I thought he looked really good in the parade ring. He has completely lost his cool since then. He is absolutely dripping in sweat right now. He gets a cutback in distance, and he won the most prestigious race in South America in his last out.
Sealy Way is already in. He's another big European. He's trained in France. First start for his new trainer, Francis Graffard. He's got ex-British champion jockey Ryan Moore booked for the ride.
Extremely talented racehorse. No idea whether or not he'll handle the main track. And also factor in from a pace standpoint, he's probably within the first furlong of the race going to look up and go, how am I 10 back already?
And what about a shock for the locals? They run Emblem Road and Making Miracles. It would be a miracle, or would it?
Last year we had Great Scott actually hit the trifecta in here. Emblem Road beat Great Scott last time out, and he has a lovely pedigree by Quality Road out of a Bernardini mare. He's bred to be this good.
Joel Rosario, Eclipse Award-winning United States-based rider. He took a fall in the first race here today, but he got up, he was stretchered off, and here he is running Midnight Bourbon, a big fancy.
Needs to be involved from the jump, if not outright on the lead. He's a really talented racehorse. He just needs to put it all together one of these days.
And you can't keep Bob Baffert out of the news. What about Country Grammar in the Medina Spirit Silks?
I mean, you know, this horse was bought to be able to run in this race. He was on the outside looking in. Bob rolled the dice and didn't run him in a prep race in California, hoping that he could get in. He makes the field in here. Flavien Prat already with a winner on the card for Bob Baffert. They won the Saudi Derby earlier on today. He gets a great draw for the speed that he has. We know he's a stayer. The question is he ready to go off the layoff? If there's anyone that can do it, it's Bob Baffert off 270-day plus break.
Just 2 more to load then. 14 runners, 7 countries represented, one $20 million prize fund. John Hunt is going to call the Saudi Cup of 2022.
Thank you, Nick. As Theo Keynes, very relaxed, makes his way in, Mishrif and then Secret Ambition. They've just put up a sign saying the temperature here is 23 degrees. The reality for race fans is it's about to reach boiling point. The Saudi Cup lineup is complete. 1,800 meters. We're set. And away they go. Jumping away, Emblem Road was the one who was slowest away, and Frankie Dettori did not get a good start on Real World. Mishrif stays out wide for the time being. The pacemakers now include Secret Ambition, Art Collector moving forward as well. Also onto the inside, that is Country Grammar, who's away well. Theo Keynes nice and prominent, and Midnight Bourbon, who so often gets to the front, is nowhere near it at the moment as Real World improves now on his inside. Sealy Way and Mishrif are right up on the outside, and Mandaloon strides forward. Pace strong enough as they head then down the far side of the track here. The first 3 furlongs completed. Out very wide on the track is Making Miracles. Tucked in behind the leaders early is Marsh Lorraine, the Breeders' Cup winner. She's riding behind Sealy Way. And look at Theo Keynes under pressure. The great Japanese horse looks as though he's already spent as they make their way towards the turn out of the back straight. Sealy Way struggling as well at the back of the field. Magnicor is last. Aero Trem, one of the back markers as well. The pace here unrelenting. The Saudi Cup leader is Secret Ambition with Art Collector now on his shoulder. Behind him, Country Grammar. They're followed by Mandaloon. Splitting those two is Midnight Bourbon, who will still turn in with a chance. What a big run from Making Miracles on the outside. The local horse followed round by Emblem Road as well. Looks as though Mandaloon is now absolutely cooked as they come down the home straight here in the Saudi Cup, and it's anybody's race. Midnight Bourbon trying to take it up here. Country Grammar goes with him. In behind the local horses, Making Miracles finishing off well, and so too Emblem Road for what would be a massive turn-up. Emblem Road is being roared home by the locals. Country Grammar and Midnight Bourbon next. Emblem Road to the front. A huge shock, but they love it here in Saudi Arabia. Emblem Road has toppled the lot of them. Beats Country Grammar, Midnight Bourbon. Aero Trem ran really well in behind them as well. Followed by Making Miracles, and looking way back, Mishrif has come home last of all.
show from last year's winner. They were followed home by Sealiway as well. But this is all about Emblem Road. Astonishing local win. And the roof is lifting off the grandstand here at the King Abdulaziz racetrack. The local horse Emblem Road has shocked the rest of the world in the Saudi Cup. Even they can't believe it. Wiggy Ramos, who's been riding in the kingdom for many moons, has enjoyed his finest now. The place is going wild. Emblem Road wins the Saudi Cup. 6 out of 8 coming into this race here in Riyadh. 7 from 9 now, that's academic. He's taken the world's most valuable race in his own backyard, and he has beaten 2 high-class, top-class American dirt horses. Country Grammar, you cannot keep Bob Baffert or Medina Spirit's owner Amir Zidane out of the news, but today Zidane has been beaten by his compatriots in sensational fashion, with Midnight Bourbon running an honourable third. Wow, wow!
We knew Midnight Bourbon was going to hit the board, right? That's something that was almost given the way he always runs. What a sensational run from Emblem Road.
A stunning performance. You can hear the fans here are going wild, understandably and rightfully so. Just an incredible course. John Hunt called it that the pace was lively. They were going very, very stiff early, despite the fact that there were many of them lined up. And Emblem Road, we talk about those wide sweeping moves, just continued to come. He was relentless. And to get up in the shadow of the wire, just an unbelievable result.
Not only that, Emblem Road's stable companion, the equally unconsidered Making Miracles, has rounded out the superfecta here by running an outstanding 4th, with the Uruguayan Aerotrem in 5th. You could hear the sound of bubbles bursting across the kingdom. No sign of Mishrif, no sign of Mandaloon.
No sign of T.O. Keynes. He was done early. He was backing up in a heartbeat. Marshall Lorraine looked like she was in for a moment, and she faded. Midnight Bourbon did strike the front, Michelle, and to your point, we knew he would give a good account of himself. This was just a stunning result.
This horse is a local legend. This man on board's been a local legend for many decades. Wiggy Ramos, high in the irons. He's alongside Tom Stanley.
I've got to get near him first, Nick. I've got to get near him. Let me get his attention. Wiggy Ramos, hey, well done. How do you feel?
I feel so happy. I just got the biggest race in the world. So I less words now.
Do you have any idea how big this is? How big this is for this country?
Always before the race, I don't think about it. I just trying to be cool, to not be excited.
Enjoy it. The roof's going to come up.
Well, they can scarcely believe it. Wiggy Ramos, for 5 minutes at any rate, will usurp the great Lafitte Pincay as the most celebrated Panamanian board jockey.
Look at him standing up here with Thrill. We talked a little bit about Emblem Road being the best hope for the locals, Nick. This horse loves this racetrack here. He's brought in 3 straight victories, and we mentioned the pedigree by Quality Road out of a Bernardini mare. This is a sensational American pedigree meant to go this far.
And the jockey rode in America for a long time as well, but they talk about this as a new race, a shiny new thing in the desert. Wiggy Ramos, 23 years he's been riding in Saudi Arabia.
Wow. It feels good to watch someone that's dedicated their lives to this country, to be able to ride in its biggest race and win. I mean, the fans are thrilled. I feel emotional over it.
This may only be the 3rd running of this race. This will be one that will be remembered forever.
Emblem Road. Well, what does the chairman of the Jockey Club of Saudi Arabia, the man whose brainchild this was, think of that? Prince Bandar's with Tom.
Prince Bandar, I will repeat the question. What do you think of that?
Well, wow. I mean, that was, to have a locally trained horse perform that way is
it's just very emotional. It's really emotional. I'm really happy for the connections. I'm happy for Saudi Arabia. I wish the best of luck for all the other, wonderful, wonderful horses and their connections who came here, and there's always next year.
What will it mean to the people here, the people who love horse racing?
I think this is just going to,